Comic Timing is member supported by listeners like you over at patreon.com/comic timing. We thank you so much for your continued support of the show. For every little bit that you give for as little as $1 a month, you can get access to some early releases, like the last episode that got about a week early release, as well as some extra content, some manga reviews by Chris Naudis, some occasional diaries by myself, and a bunch of other stuff that we could throw in there for you over at patreon.com/comic timing. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and why not? Thank you. Hey there, folks. My name's Ian Levestein, and welcome to episode 248 of Comic Timing. And with a 1-month reprieve, we return to the tried and true previews format. And of course, by my side, the dynamic duo of previews has reunited. Mr. Murd, welcome, Morrows.
That's right. Always happy to do the catalog with you, Ian. Always a good and informative time.
Yes, indeed.
We are your preview 2 live crew. To you here, and right about at the middle of the month, too, so you've still got a little time to act on our recommendations here.
Yep, absolutely the case. You know, we try to do that as much as possible, and we are just about smack dab in the middle of the month here. Even if it winds up coming out on Monday, it'll still be the middle of the month, and that's what matters as we record this on a Thursday, so A-okay with that. One thing we don't think is going to wind up changing between now and then is breaking news. Thanks, YouTube, for that one. Breaking news in the Diamond front, as we had announced on air multiple times that it looked like things were solved and resolved with Diamond, and that they were going to wind up going with Alliance as their new owners. Then some weird shit happened. After the sale had closed, there was a turnabout of face for Diamond. As after Alliance Entertainment put in their bid, Diamond tried to say that the secondary bid actually turned out to, in the end, be higher, which was a bid by Canada-based Universal Distributors and Ad Populum. And they essentially tried to screw Alliance Entertainment out of it because they thought it would be a business model that worked better for them, and also because, from the looks of it, this is who Diamond wanted them to be bought by from the start.
Yep, that is what I heard. You know, if you can believe the comic shop scuttlebutt.
Yeah. In fact, even in the initial reporting of it, there was word that Universal Distributors in general had a bid in for Alliance and Diamond UK in the initial bankruptcy proceedings. They had a bid in, but they were then outbid by Alliance for everything but Diamond UK. I think Diamond UK is still TBD on whether or not that's actually going to be part of the deal. Nevertheless, Diamond went back and was like, yeah, no, this is the case. And Alliance was like, shut up. We won. What are you doing? And they threatened to sue their asses. And it was going to wind up going to court until Universal Distributors and Ad Populum straight up backed down from their bid, saying, we don't want to deal with this, especially in these weird tariff trade times between Canada and the United States.
The can of worms there.
To say the least, yeah. This may have, very much unearthed even more cans of worms in this situation. And we're out, the representative said, according to Alliance's early April lawsuit filed in the U.S. Bankruptcy Court of the District of Maryland. The auction house then declared Alliance the winner, which should have been the end of it. And now it's the end of it. So Alliance is going to be purchasing Diamond outright. Where it goes from here, we're just going to have to go ahead and find out. As you know, they have distribution means. They're tried and true. They've been distributing games for a while now. I don't quite know how much they actually care about comic books, but they own them, and they're going to have to find a way to get them out there. But You weren't part of this when I mentioned some of the quotes from some of Alliance's backers. When asked about Free Comic Book Day, they were like, well, we like making money. We don't like giving away things for free. So we may have to reassess that. And I'm sure somebody probably whispered in their ear saying, shut up, it makes us money. So yeah, we'll see what winds up happening in the near future.
How much understanding they have of comics as an industry and as a retail business, and yeah. But apparently, from what I heard from the folks at Golden Eagle, Scott Fosnut and those guys, my LCS, they're still going to get. They're already locked in for most of the comics they were supposed to get for FCBD.
Excellent.
So this year, at least, it'll happen. Next year, it may be more of a for-purchase event.
Well, I also wouldn't be surprised, and I think one of the things that we mentioned, at least a little bit in passing, was that I wouldn't be surprised if Lunar just winds up, doing a Free Comic Book Day with everything that they own. Even if they don't have the name, because the name was part of the purchase, like that went with Alliance, unless Alliance then sells the rights to somebody else. The actual term Free Comic Book Day is now owned by Alliance Entertainment. If you want to call it a free day for comics, maybe.
Infinite rephrasings they could employ if it came to that.
Exactly. The no money comic book 24-hour sale,
It's fun with paraphrase.
Exactly. But that's kind of all we have on that front here. That does, however, mean we are going to mention the previews catalog this month. It's going to look a little bit different because a couple of people are no longer there, which will then lead to us mentioning certain publishers in both Lunar and Penguin Random House. For now, Boom, Dark Horse, and IDW are still also in Diamond, so we will be mentioning them there. Boom is no longer at the front of Diamond's catalog, however. They have been relegated to the back with everybody who doesn't pay them extra money to be one of the premier companies at the front. We'll also be mentioning TwoMorrows in the Lunar portion of the catalog because that's where they are now. So there'll be occasional dalliances other places, but for the most part, it'll be quote unquote business as usual here on this particular previews episode.
Yep, as usual as it can be at this key transition point in comics distribution history.
Yes, indeed. Yep. And we're putting out an episode. I want to make that perfectly clear. I know we missed last month. And there's gotta be months where schedules don't line up, and I'm not doing a one-man previews. Like that's just there's something about just talking to yourself about a previews catalog that kind of feels like I'm just talking to myself, which is just not something I'm looking to do. But whenever we can, we will get ourselves together for 2, if not 3. Hopefully, Raph will be able to join us next month again as his situation is changing a little bit, and he'll be a little bit more open and available. So we'll make this happen whenever we can, because there were a couple people who reached out. Where's previews? And like, don't worry, we got you covered. We're all good. Speaking of which, here we go. All right, on we go. And as usual, Image issue 6. Once again, we're just going to call it issue 6 because they started giving it actual numbers. So go figure. We've got the actual previews catalog 439. Can't wait to talk about this weird-ass crossover between Thundercats and Powerpuff Girls. DC Connect brings us the 59th issue of that catalog. And Marvel is at issue 43 of theirs. And just to show it, this is the the Lunar catalog. And they've got Kong, and DC's got Godzilla and Kong. So it's... There's a going trend here of giant monsters fighting each other.
Good month to be a gorilla.
Yes, it most definitely is. And you know what? I'm going to break from tradition and just straight up go with the one thing from the Penguin Random House panels catalog that I wanted to mention.
You might as well.
Yep. So this is on page 72 of this particular catalog. They split it into single issues, graphic novels, other stuff, and this immediately caught my eye, and it is specifically from Top Shelf, which I don't believe has a presence anymore in previews. If it does, then it escaped me. The sequel to They Called Us Enemy, It Rhymes with Takei. Written by George Takei himself, with assistance by Stephen Scott and Justin Eisinger, and illustrated by Harmony Becker. George Takei has shown the world many faces: actor, author, outspoken activist, helmsman of the Starship Enterprise, oh my, living witness to the internment of Japanese Americans, and king of social media. Seriously, they gave him a crown and everything. But until October 27, 2005, there was always one piece missing, one face he did not show the world. There was one very intimate fact about George that he never shared, and it rhymes with Takei. You can figure that one out. Now, for the first time ever, George shares the full story of his life in the closet, his decision to come out as gay at the age of 68, and the way the moment transformed everything. Combining historical context with intimate subjectivity, It Rhymes with Takei shows how the personal and political have always been intertwined. Its richly emotional words and images depict the terror of entrapment, even in gay community spaces, the anguish of speaking up for so many issues while remaining silent on its most personal issue, the grief of losing friends to AIDS, the joy of finding true love with Brad Altman, and the determination to declare that love openly and legally before the whole world. Very happy that this book is being put out. It kind of completes the duology of George Takei books and things that have been very, very pertinent and important in his life over the years. And this gives you a whole other side to the man who's lived a very long and passionate and well-bodied life. George Takei is here for you in It Rhymes with Takei on page 72 of the Penguin Random House catalog.
Story of Takei's liberation from two different kinds of captivity in these two books.
Yep, very much so. Also, one of these days, I'll have to find out if Brad Altman is a distant cousin of mine, as that's my grandmother's maiden name. So. Don't try to use that to spoof me in any way, listeners. By the way, just so you're aware, it's not gonna get you to solve anything one way or the other on what my social security number is or anything. But yep, good stuff there on page 72, and there's tons of other stuff in the Penguin Random House catalog. It's just if we touched on literally every single catalog all the way through, this would be an 8-hour episode, and we ain't doing that. So
yeah. And based on what I saw of the Penguin Random House catalog last time we did one of these episodes, it's so bizarrely organized that I think it would tie our brains in knots before we got too far in anyway. So let's.
I hear you. Yep, absolutely. Well, we begin with the Image catalog, which is out of Lunar, I might add. Bloodletter, number 1 of 5, on page 3. Joseph Illage and Tim Seeley, art by Christian Rosado. Tasha Thornwall, great name, is the Bloodletter, another good name, mystical mercenary of the world's secret underground, former CIA, forced to live in the shadows after being outed by Al Simmons 10 years ago. Tasha is now out for revenge when she learns Al is alive as Spawn. The mission to hunt down and kill Spawn begins in this debut miniseries. Wow. Unexpected Spawn title right there. I know it's a Spawn universe and it literally says it right there, but this is a side of the Spawn universe we definitely have not seen before, and love the design of the character on this one. Not to mention pedigree of Tim Seeley behind it. This is going to be some good comics right here.
It was sounding good even before the Spawn angle was introduced.
Yep, absolutely. This is going to be a 5-issue miniseries to get us started here, and you can find that on page 3. If Mr. Eberly was here, he would most definitely be discussing what is here on page 4. A brand new hardcover, straight up hardcover, one story, one hardcover, bam, by the one and only Brian K. Vaughn, with art and cover by Nico Henrichson. Spectators, the hardcover, putting the graphic back in graphic novel. Unconventional supernatural romance takes a hard look at sex and violence and the very different ways we obsessively watch both. If anyone's going to do it, it's going to be Brian K. Vaughn.
Yeah, it does seem like the kind of cultural duality he'd want to tackle.
Absolutely. Yep. Hundreds of years in the future, New York City is haunted by many ghosts, including a voyeuristic woman who died in our present day and a mysterious gun-toting man from the distant past. Normally solo travelers, these two specters meet each other just in time to observe what might be the end of the living world. 3 years in the making. It's a hand-painted epic in the most ambitious collaboration yet between Pride of Baghdad's own Nico Henrichson and Brian K. Vaughn. I pronounced it two different ways. One of them has to be the right one. But yeah, this is so beautifully rendered, and a completely different style than the last time they worked together. Like, this does not look like Pride of Baghdad. This is its own thing, and I cannot wait to get my hands on this title. This looks so damn beautiful. Down to earth character designs as well. Yeah, and you got to love the page on page 9 here. A man clad in with a rifle, a Mickey Mouse hat, and some
a flak jacket with #leaderboard painted on its chest. All of this just as the words "down to earth character designs" are issuing from Ian's lips.
You're damn right. You're damn right. And then some more violence on page 10. So if you don't like that, you can go ahead and skip it. But good to see Brian K. Vaughn in the Image catalog. We haven't gotten to whether or not there's new Saga yet, but at least there's new Brian K. Vaughn, and that will make the Vaughn heads happy. So excellent. Meanwhile, let's move over to page 11, new 4-issue miniseries.
Wow.
Yep.
Interesting note to make here. The digital version you're working from and the print version I've got in my lap, which, by the way, is printed on this gloriously cheap, pulpy paper that I wish was still the medium for the comic books these days. Yeah, it's paginated very differently. All those sample pages from Spectators are not included. And this solicit for Gehenna Naked Aggression #1 is on only page 3 of the print version, whereas it's page 11 for you.
Very interesting. Yeah, I guess maybe the preview pages were a late edition this time around, or they wanted to save some money on the printing, which may very well be. Yeah. Well then, what page number did you say? We'll say both page numbers. Just
it's page 3 for print and page 11 for what we're looking at on screen here.
Well, there you go. Yep, and Patrick Kindlin on the story, Mauricio Rosenweig. That's a fun name on the art and cover. Gehenna Naked Aggression #1 of 4. A contract is out for Gehenna, but she's managed to stay alive long enough that the contract has been resold several times as consolidated debt between criminal organizations. Now she intends to put a stop to the chain of custody on that contract. With a bullet. Bang, bang, bang.
Yep, there is no other way, no other voice in which to read that line.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
With a bullet.
And the artwork on this, and I mean this in the most sincere and positive way, old school Frank Miller-esque. Like Daredevil Frank Miller, not like modern day Frank Miller in the angular, obtuse way.
Important distinction to make. Two very different Millers.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. And gory violence going on throughout, but the hatchwork and the coloring and the general design of it all very much has a Miller feel. So if that's the type of action you're looking for, it will very much suit you to check this one out. No matter what page it is for you, it's still worth checking out.
All right, now here's something else that Mr. Eberly would absolutely be gushing about and wanting us to mention if he were with us. On page 4 by print and 15 or 16 by digital, Lazarus Fallen #1. Lazarus is Returning by Greg Rucka and Michael Lark. It takes us back into another future dystopia in which the United States, as a nation, has ceased to exist. It's now run by a bunch of corporate entities. Well, the copy describes it as a, quote, neo-feudalist world run by the ultra-wealthy families, which are evolved from the boards of directors of different corporations. And each family has a Lazarus, an immortal and difficult to, at least very difficult to kill enforcer who's been genetically enhanced, for combat purposes, to see to the family's interests and in interactions with, in disputes between the various families in what used to be the United States. And one such Lazarus is a character named Forever Carlyle, who we see holding the bloody sword on the cover. And Chris has been a strong proponent of this series for a long time. I've tried a couple of volumes. It's not exactly my cup of tea. Corporate future dystopia stuff is depressing, and it's a little too close to reality these days anyway. But it's creatively well executed. So Chris would certainly be putting his seal of approval on seeing more of this series coming to us from Image.
It's also funny that this is coming out now. There's a very, very different Lazarus that is not by Greg Rucka that just started airing on Adult Swim, and it's also available on Max by the original creator of Cowboy Bebop, Shinichiro Watanabe. Just launched an anime called Lazarus. So this is going to get confusing if that Lazarus TV show ever winds up, materializing out of thin air. And I'm sure they'll probably wind up having to differentiate it, like how the Alias, comic book, when it became a TV show, was Jessica Jones rather than Alias, because there was already an Alias TV show starring Jennifer Garner on TV. So
good point.
Yep.
Maybe one reason why we've got the subtitle here, but probably not the only reason.
Oh, yeah. It's also just a good way to differentiate the different miniseries, as that seems to be the general trend that Greg Rucka has taken with the Lazarus volumes. So, Lazarus Fallen #1, available on page 16, or if you have the print edition, a different page. So
4.
There you go. Yeah, wow. Yeah, that's what all those preview pages can do to a volume. It can really balloon those numbers.
Mm-hmm. It can really cut into your promotional budget if you're paying to print all of those. So I can understand why they left them out.
Yep. This one may also potentially be up Mr. Eberly's alley. It's a horror dystopian apocalyptic, as it's described here, 6-issue miniseries, News from the Fallout. By Chris Condon and art by Jeffrey Allen Love. This brings us a dark sci-fi horror story unlike you've seen before, which takes place in 1962 Nevada, in which a nuclear bomb test goes horribly awry and unleashes a contaminant into the atmosphere that turns people rotten. Otis Fallows, a private in the U.S. Army who was present for the test and is the only known survivor, flees the secret army base in search of a safe haven. But does such a place exist? So very, very alternate world where the nuclear bomb testing definitely happened very, very differently. And there's most definitely fallout, and it ain't good. Alternate histories I know are up Eberly's alley, and this is most definitely that. And you can check this out, first issue of 6.
Yeah, I do believe the period setting would appeal to him.
Mm-hmm, indeed. And that's on page 17. I'm going to guess it's on page 5 of the regular book. Yep.
On the nosy.
There we go. And a lot of preview pages to make it even more pages in between. The use of black and white on this was absolutely the right way to go. It just adds to the dark, weird gloominess of the rotten, and really well executed.
Yeah, kind of invokes sci-fi B pictures of the time too, which would have been made in black and white.
Absolutely. Yep.
Oh yeah, we got to stop here on print page 6.
Yep.
For Copra #50, which is going to be the final issue of Michel Fiffe's opus, which we've mentioned several times on this show and others. It's, if you're not familiar, it's basically John Ostrander's Suicide Squad, but not, in kind of a surreal indie comic style, and with some analogs to Marvel characters thrown in here and there for a good measure. And it started off as a series of independently published graphic novels. It migrated to Image at some point, and now Fiffe appears to be ending it after the recent Death of Copra miniseries. This is an epilogue to that and to the entire Copra series, a Copra coda, if you will. Wrap the whole thing up. So if you're a fan of John Ostrander's 1980s Suicide Squad run, this whole thing has been one long love letter to that. Maybe the final issue isn't the best time to jump in on it, but go back, do your homework, and then read the final issue.
Yep, and offered again is the Copra Master Collection Book 1. So I will assume that the Master Collection Book 2 hardcover will cover everything else, including issue 50. So you've got some reading ahead of you, definitely, if you have not checked out Copra. That's on page 24, digital. So we've covered both bases with that. I Hate Fairyland. A new old era of the hit fantasy series begins as Scotty Young and co. welcome new artist Derek Loftman, and I Hate Fairyland reverts to legacy numbering in the lead up to the Big 5-0. Even Image could do legacy numbering. And you know how our green-haired anti-hero Gert is celebrating a good old-fashioned dungeon pub crawl. So we're back to issue 41 of this, even though it has the fantastic fluffin' first issue on the cover. So.
Well, they got 40 in parentheses and a tiny black caption there.
Exactly. Yep. So page 25 or page 6, pick your poison on that one.
7.
7. Oh, 7. Damn it. So close. I Hate Fairyland number 41.
Okay.
Further along, a whole bunch of stuff in first or second issues that we'll skip over. Go a little bit further down into the book. Especially here. Well, you know what? I probably would have mentioned Free Planet number 1 had we had a previews last month. So I will mention Free Planet number 2 here.
That's fair.
Yep. Aubrey Sitterson is the man behind this, and that's a name I've followed in podcast circles for a little while, and this is a new book that he's a part of here. It's a kind of space politics opera. Brings shades of the cosmic imagination of Jack Vance, Jack Kirby, and Samuel Delaney and Howard Chaykin's Great Lost Empire with a special supercharged future fictional Wikipedia density of its own. Those are the words of Jonathan Latham of The Fortress of Solitude and Motherless Brooklyn. And then, of course, incredibly imaginative world building, all-around compelling characters who have depth. Read this by some schlub named Mark Waid. So good praise to have for Free Planet. If you didn't pick up the first issue, find that on stands and pick up issue 2, or you can wait for the eventual collection. But that is on digital page 32. And then of course, G.I. Joe on the next page. Both G.I. Joe issue 8 of the Energon universe. Major Blood is back for revenge against the woman who took his eye, the Baroness. Good times on that.
Even I know who that is.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. And, continuing that. And on the same page, continuing G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, issue 317, as Snake Eyes strikes. Meanwhile, Dr. Mindbender has his revenge. Once again.
And still written by Larry Hama, and Paul Pelletier is doing some of the art?
Yes, indeed.
That's...
Yep. Good stuff.
That is indeed good stuff. That's
one of the things that both Shane and Chris have mentioned, that there's definitely been a step up in artwork since G.I. Joe came to Image, especially on a Real American Hero. There were some questionable artists in there for a little bit of its run, but they've definitely righted that ship since it's been over at Image. So, got people like Paul Pelletier involved. You're in good hands. Mind you, cover A by Andy Kubert himself. Yep. That's on page 33 digital. Let's head over to those of you who have been following Daniel Warren Johnson's The Moon is Following Us. That was an accidental turn of phrase there, but I like it. Issue 10 of 10 out this month on page 39. The end has come. No one will ever be the same. And what I know is that there's definitely a trade to come of all 10 issues of this action adventure fantasy series by the one and only Dan Warren Johnson, with art by Dan Warren Johnson and Riley Rossmo. No slouch, either one of them, for that matter, when it comes to the artwork. All right. Further along, Patchwork Girl of Oz, issue 5. Otis Frampton's story and artwork of this adaptation.
I very much like the looks of it. Just waiting for the trade.
Excellent. Well, that will hopefully come soon. This is still come. It just says comes to life in a new, exciting way. Don't miss out. No hint yet on how many issues the thing is going to wind up being, but you'll get your at least volume 1 to come probably after next issue.
No, I'd be surprised if there were more than one volume of it. I'm guessing something like 7 issues. I think I read that somewhere. In fact,
there you go. Radiant Black issue 35 on page 42. Those of you who've been following it issue by issue. I know Brent Cassina caught himself up on Radiant Black after us Gold Team members did our review corner review of Volume 1, and he absolutely loved everything he's had to read of that. So those of you who are catching up or are caught up, issue 35 by Kyle Higgins and Joe Clark with Eduardo Ferragato on the artwork chores on page 42.
I do find it interesting there at the bottom of page 45, or page 27 in my book, that The Seasons by Rick Remender and Paul Azaceta has gone to a 5th issue. Normally expect something themed around or based on The Seasons to stop at 4. And in fact, it is... What I mainly know about this series is that it's about 4 sisters whose surname is Season and whose given names are Spring, Summer, Autumn, and Winter. But here's Rick Remender confounding expectations once again and pressing on to number 5.
How did he do it? He found a way.
He invented another number.
Yep. Hey, Spring Seasons has disappeared, so maybe there's another season out there that Schmummer that's going to be coming up.
There are those who call it Wummer.
Mirka Andolfo's Sweet Paprika open for business hits its 5th and final issue of that miniseries on page 47. Those of you who are waiting for that to conclude, it is now concluding. Excellent cover for Transformers number 21 on page 48. Autobots versus Decepticons. That is a very He-Man pose, if I do say so myself, for that Transformers cover there. It looks straight out of the He-Man movie poster, to be honest with you.
Yeah, now that you mention it.
That sword and everything, definitely. And Spoiler is here, by the way, just so we know. Not the DC character. Just they can't tell us yet.
That's right. Bracket spoiler bracket.
Void Rivals also on its 20th issue. Darak and Salila, rivals once more. Kirkman continuing the writing chores on that one, page 49 of the digital. And of course, we must mention, do we really need to? Why not? Youngblood Deluxe number 3 by Rob Liefeld and Joe Casey, with artwork by Rob Liefeld and Danny Miki. For any of you Youngblood fans, Joe Casey's giving it an actual story, so that's good to know.
Always a plus.
Now this had my interest. Another hardcover here. This is on page 53. It's called Altamont. Story by Herrick Hanna, and art and cover by the one and only Charlie Adlard. December 1969. Woodstock and the Flower Power wave have swept the East Coast, and in response, the West Coast turns up the decibels with a festival of their own on the Altamont racetrack in Northern California. Biggest bands are booked, the Rolling Stones are headlining, and 300,000 people are expected for this peace, love, and rock and roll event. Jenny and her friends hop in their Volkswagen and road trip from L.A., the smell of marijuana trailing behind them, the promise of good music and good times ahead of them. Shortly after their arrival, tensions rise, a fight breaks out, and a pandemonium ensues. hired to ensure security and paid in beer, the Hells Angels begin moving the crowd away from the stage with bats and chains. But the poorly organized event quickly spirals out of control, and the dream of a Woodstock West takes a deadly turn. Yep. Unfortunately, based on true events, this Altamont graphic novel, I'm sure is going to be fascinating for any music heads out there who have heard the stories. Really, really interested to see how this one's going to wind up turning out.
Yep. You know, Ian, if it weren't for the hardcover part, you would have sold me on this, I think. Yep. So hopefully there'll be a paperback edition eventually, because this is a story I would like to read, and Charlie Adler is a great choice. To illustrate it.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's 120 pages for $25. Not bad for a hardcover, but as you said, I'm sure there will be a trade paperback version of this to come in one form or another. So do keep an eye out for that, and we will keep an eye out for it as well.
And we'll keep the title Altamont in the back of my mind.
Excellent. That's on digital page 53. And for what was that? Oh, I hear Chris Epperly going, There we go. Darwin Cook's The Complete Spirit Connoisseur Edition hardcover on page 54. This is a 9 by 13.5 trim version of Spirit issues 1 through 6, 8 through 12, and the Batman the Spirit one-shot, all included in this collection. Could not be happier that this is being put out, and that they were able to get the Batman crossover included with it as well. That's just a joy right there.
But the question on a lot of people's lips right now is, why not issue number 7?
Very good question, actually. Maybe Darwin didn't do it. I'll have to look that one up. Actually,
that's a pretty sound hypothesis. Might have been a guest issue, and you can't have non-Darwin Cook content in something entitled Darwin Cook's The Complete Spirit.
That is indeed true. So, let's see. Okay. Yeah, you know what? If it is the one that was originally published by DC,
and I suspect it is,
that particular issue was by Kyle Baker, Walt Simonson, and Jimmy Palmiotti.
There we go.
Yep. So. And colors were by Darwin Cook and Dave Stewart. So he still had his footprint on it. It just was not a Darwin Cook issue.
So they probably could have justified throwing it in here, but...
Yep. Can understand why they chose not to, but yeah. Yep, either way. Also funny that it's still on DC's site. But yeah, so yeah, do check it out. Everything but that issue 7 available here in one package on page 54. You also had to put on there Batman and related content, copyright 2025, DC Comics, all rights reserved. The Spirit, copyright 2025, Will Eisner Studios, Inc., used with permission.
And then something else that's you wouldn't necessarily expect Image to be publishing. Jim, on page 35 for me and probably 55 for you. Jim Aparo's DC Classics Artists Edition hardcover.
Yeah.
So this is kind of an imitation of what IDW's been doing for a number of years here. It is in trim size, 12 inches by 17 inches. It is in full color, it says. Although, that's again, this is what IDW usually did, where they take black and white raw artwork and scan it in color.
Yep.
Just enabling the reader to see the work as close to the original as possible, ink gradients, blue pencil, and all the unique nuances that make original art so special. So that's all preserved here. And it's Jim Aparo art, of course, over stories that were penned by Bob Haney and also Michael Fleischer. So we've got some Batman stories, and we've got some Spectre thrown in there. It's things that originally appeared in The Brave and the Bold, Detective Comics, and Adventure Comics.
Yep. Well, for the art heads out there, this is going to be something absolutely special. It's 216 pages for pre-discount price of $150. So you got to really love art in order to have this on your shelf. You also have to have the room for it because, as Murd said, it's 12 by 17. So that is a top of the shelf book, not a middle of the shelf book, because it probably will not fit on the middle shelf. Nonetheless, it's going to be pretty as heck. That is definitely a given.
I noticed the little 4 columnar Roman numerals down at the bottom. Act 4. This is some kind of new sub-imprint that Image is working on here, which is going to be producing collections and reproductions like this.
Yeah, that's a good call out there, Murd. Yep, I was not aware of the sub imprint, but I guess if they're gonna work close to what IDW has been putting out, and obviously they seem to have made some sort of deal with DC, as not only are they getting DC content in their Spirit collection, they're also putting this stuff out. So also interesting that DC has been farming stuff out for the first time. Like that Uncle Sam hardcover that I got at New York Comic Con, that I believe was Fantagraphics, if I remember correctly. That put that one out. So I think it's DC is just possibly just trying to put themselves in partnership with others that might be able to put collections out in formats that they themselves are unable to do, and this is certainly one way of doing that. So yeah, if they're putting the time and effort in, it's absolutely worth it. Page 55 for that action. And the Letter 44 Compendium by Charles Soule and Alberto Albuquerque on page 57. This collects the entire Letter 44, the entire series in full, all 744 pages of it for $50. Plausible, well-researched scenario on how NASA or an entity like it might mount an extensive, high-stakes space exploration mission to save mankind. And that quote right there is by NASA Orion engineer and of the Kennedy Space Center, Ed Stanton himself. So good pedigree to have a quote from on your space epic.
Yeah, if it impressed a man that highly positioned, then yeah, I think we must consider it plausible. So well done, Charles Soule, for getting it so close to right.
Yeah, and the fact that the President of the United States is President Blades.
That does sound pretty action movie-like, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
At any point, does he utter the words, "Get the hell off my spaceship"?
Page 57 for that. And Local Man. Tim Seeley and Tony Fleeks absolutely love this book. Gets the hardcover treatment as this collects Local Man 1 through 13, issue 25. What happened to the rest? Issue 25 is supposed to happen that way. Don't worry.
Yep. It was a deliberate jump ahead in the numbering, kind of like the DC 1 million issues. Don't worry about it. There's not 12 other issues lying around out there that you missed.
Exactly. And the Gold and Bad Girls one-shots. 608 pages of hardcover action here for a solid $60. I love this series. It's well worth checking out, and it's probably going to look damn beautiful in hardcover format like this with Tony Fleek's artwork to go along with it. So do check that out if you have not done so yet on page 58 digitally. And then Greg Rucka's Old Guard, which was made into a Netflix movie, and now the Old Guard 2 is going to be hitting Netflix shortly. This is the Immortal edition of Volume 1 in hardcover. This collects 1 through 5 of the Old Guard and the Old Guard Force Multiplied, issues 1 through 5, which was the follow-up to the original Old Guard miniseries. That's available on page 59.
Seem to recall Chris being pretty impressed with that series, too.
Yes, indeed, yep. And then Brian Michael Bendis, Todd McFarlane, Mark Andreyko, and Luca Blengino, along with Angel Medina, Clayton Crane, and Luca Erbetta, bring us the Salmon Twitch Compendium in trade paperback. 1,320 pages of Salmon Twitch for $60. Not a Shane book, but it's got a lot of stuff in it.
Yep, and it's a whole lot of hard-boiled private eye action set in the Spawn universe.
Yep. 1 through 26 of the original Salmon Twitch, then the Case Files and Salmon Twitch the Writer, issues 1 through 4 thrown in there. All for good measure.
And they're on page 41 for me, the first trade of Rick Remender and Paul Azaceta's The Seasons, collecting the first 4, but not the only, issues of that series.
Yep, and that's on page 61 for me of said volume.
And on the very next page, we've got a collection of Spawn manga, which has not been in print for the last 20 years.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yep. And this is in a 5x7-inch digest form, so you can put that on any shelf you want.
Absolutely. Collects Shadow of Spawn, volumes 1 through 3. And as you said, back in print for the first time in 20 years. 600 pages of Spawn manga action by Juzo Takoro, which is not a pseudonym for Todd McFarlane. It is someone different. But yes, do check that out. Any of you Spawn heads looking for something very different on page 62. Digitally. Transformers, worst but ever. Meet Ballpoint. Brian Smitty Smith with Mars Jr. as the artist. I remember when this was coming out, and I could not wait to see what this would look like in trade, and I may very well wind up having to buy this crazy-ass thing just to find out more about Ballpoint, the transforming pen on page 64.
He turns into a pen and somehow fails to destroy the Autobots.
Yep. Wonder why. The artwork is beautifully goofy. Very, very silly action to be had on the follow-up pages. And Criminal, new printing of volume 7 of that, available on page 70 for anybody looking for it. And then Geiger volume 3, also available on said page 70, collects issues 7 through 9 and Ground Zero 1 through 2. And then the digest format, Invincible volume 10, available on page 71. Get Snot Girl collected on page 72, and that closes out the catalog.
All right.
Yay! Now back to an old friend, an old trusty friend that may not be nearly as trusty anymore, but we're going to him anyway. It's where most of the stuff is, and
may simply not be anymore for much longer.
Yeah, I know.
But let's enjoy it while we can.
And that, of course, is the main Diamond previous catalog. And you are not, as I said, you are not going to find Boom at the front here. However, you are going to find Dynamite at the front. And once we actually get to it, after the 87 advertisements, we will make that happen. Let me page down until we get there. Here we are. Okay. I think it's right after that. Oh, yes. Advertise your own previews. Why don't you? Okay. Oh, look. Free comic book day. Even more. Let's just keep scrolling because we've done all that already.
And it may no longer apply anyway.
Exactly. Here we are. Okay. Sword of Omens, give us cuteness beyond cute. Page 46 and 47 for the Thundercats Powerpuff Girls, issue 1. Man, the crossover we all wanted. We all wanted it.
It's the crossover none of us asked for, but none of us can live without.
Exactly. Oh, we have the rights to both Thundercats and Powerpuff Girls? Well, then.
Yes, they had the technology, they had the resources, they went for it.
Yes, they did. Yep.
The creative team will be writer Paulina Ganesho and artist Coleman Engel, and the couple of sample pages I see, or sample images of Engel's artwork, shows me that he is perfectly splitting the difference between the two very different animation styles of Craig McCracken and Rankin Bass's Japanese affiliates of the 80s. Both characters look at home in this blended world. They both look the way they're supposed to look, and you can believe them coexisting, which is a lot harder to do than it sounds.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The same could be said, like, for example, with things like back in the day, the Turtles Forever movie that aired on TV, where, they had to have the turtles look distinctly different in their separate style of animation, but at the same
Hmm.
time, cohesively work together. And they made it work. Same could be said for the 3D turtles crossing over with the 2D turtles, which also happened at one point. So happy to see that they reached a happy medium with Powerpuff Girls and Thundercats, and I do like that the artwork is unique, but as you said, captures the style of both worlds very nicely. Good stuff.
And the Powerpuff Girls are the cover girls for this previews catalog, too. So somebody somewhere is excited about this.
Yes, indeed.
Yep, it's definitely on my to-buy list for that month.
Absolutely. And on page 53, I missed issue 1, so we will mention issue 2. Gargoyles Demona. Demona getting her own miniseries here. Written by, of course, Greg Weisman, the scribe of Gargoyles, writing this as well, with Frank Power on the artwork chores. And this takes place in the year 1107, as Demona and her adopted daughter Angelica have found their way to the frozen fjords of Norway, where they sign on to help the crew of the flagship Sigurd Magnusson, last of the Viking kings. Interesting premise for Demona, and I love seeing the in-between years of Demona. Long after her fellow gargoyles were turned to stone, and this is what she was up to in part of that, and I can't wait to see where this is going to wind up going. So, Gargoyles Demona issue 2 by Mr. Weisman on page 53. Too bad she didn't team up with Ragnar Lothbrok. I just love saying that name. Page 57, we get the first Space Ghost Annual, as David Paposi and Jonathan Lau bring us Time Flies When You're Conquering the Galaxy. This comes off of the events of issue 12, the conclusion of the second story arc of the Space Ghost ongoing, as they pull out all the stops for their very first annual. With the Council of Doom seemingly defeated, our heroes now face a terrifying new threat, one that strikes from beyond the fourth dimension. It's not Mixie X Pedalec, we swear.
No, certainly not. This isn't going any higher than the 4.3 dimension.
Exactly.
4.4 tops.
Yep.
Yes, and its name is Tempus the Time Master, which must... I haven't seen enough episodes of the 60s Space Ghost cartoons to say this for sure, but probably a character that came from there.
More than likely the case. Yeah,
They've been drawing pretty heavily on that thus far, and this is a good series. I'm glad it's being made. And Jonathan Lau, I should point out again, has been a supporter of ours in the past.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Tempest, the Time Master. Let's see. Looking it up here. Villain who appeared in Space Ghost Space Stars segments. He controlled time. So, yes. So he did show up in one form or another in previous Space Ghost iterations, and now he gets a much more to do probably in the comic book in the annual here. So check it out on page 57. And Red Sonja goes noir, because we've been asking for it. Oh, okay. David Avalone is the writer, though, so that could be pretty cool. Ada Mena, Edu Mena. There we go. Edu Mena is the artist on this. The crimson-maned warrior of song and legend muscles her way into trouble once more in this all-new tale of hard-boiled Hyboria. Check out some noir Red Sonja for you on page 59. Then the third issue of David Paposi's Captain Planet series. He is all over Dynamite, and I am looking forward to reading this Captain Planet reboot. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So, any of you Planeteers looking to check it out, third issue available for you on page 61. And Joe Casey's Space Ghost Johnny Quest Space Quest miniseries continues as well on page 63. They got Joe Casey, so use him.
Yeah, I like Joe Casey. I like Space Ghost. Not a huge fan of Johnny Quest.
Understood. Yeah. Now if it was Space Ghost Venture Brothers, then maybe we'd be,
That would be delectable chaos indeed.
Yes, it would. 5th issue of the new volume of the Darkwing Duck series, also available to everybody on page 67. As fate conspires to throw Darkwing into conflict once again with the malevolent Megavolt. Could this be a sign that the high-voltage villain is really the arch-nemesis of DW's dreams? To find out, Darkwing will have to strap on a pair of oversized goggles to try to thwart Megavolt's virtual heist in a newfangled digital realm known as the Internet? What?
Still the 90s in Darkwing's world, I guess. And speaking of the 90s, here on pages 68 and 69, we've got Dynamite reprinting some very old Darkwing Duck comics. Probably the first ever produced, taking us all the way back to the 90s. Apparently there was a 4-issue DW miniseries in 1991, shortly before I began collecting comics, and a run in the first 10 issues of the Disney Afternoon magazine in 1994. So, which are probably a little hard to come by nowadays, so Dynamite is collecting them all for you in a compact little 248-page hardcover volume for $70.
Yeah. I remember finding one of my Disney Afternoons in my collection a couple years back, and it was the one with William Shatner in the movie Star Trek uniform on the cover. And it had a bunch of comics inside, Gargoyles, Darkwing Duck, and I think maybe even a Recess comic, if I remember correctly.
Wow.
Yep. But yeah, it's great to see this Disney Afternoon stuff being recollected in one form or another, because it's a long time coming. It's stuff that was sitting on a shelf unused for many, many years, and now Dynamite's making these collections happen and putting them back in print. So good for them. Great DuckTales cover for issue 7 of that ongoing series. And everybody has a favorite DuckTales character, and everyone's favorite character is in this issue. That's because Uncle Scrooge will need all of his friends, and even familiar foes, to stop his precious money bin from losing all its dough. Every single character ever available for you on page 71. All of them.
Okay.
And then Jeff Parker's Zootopia series continues as well on page 73, for any of you who've been looking to check that one out. And the Herculoids got a 5th issue. I was not expecting more than 3.
Well, apparently this very old, dusty property has got more fans than we knew.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I'm kind of intrigued by it myself. I've bought the first several issues.
Mm-hmm. Hey, look, if Silverhawks can get a 6th issue, then so could Herculoids. That's it.
Absolutely.
Silverhawks.
I'm still waiting for Tiger Sharks.
Oh man, if I can, if I can also request SWAT cats, that would be nice too. That'd be nice. Let's just bring them back while we're at it.
Oh, let's just completely mine the entire comic strip series. Let's bring in like Street Frogs and Camp Minimon.
Oh my God, RoboCop, but specifically the RoboCop animated, not the movie.
I'd get behind that. I prefer the cartoon to the movies.
Well, the Silverhawks series does indeed continue on page 81. They're not the Thundercats, we swear.
Yep. But do you know who are the Thundercats? The Thundercats.
That's very true. Yes. Wow. Oh my God, the cover for Declan Shelby's Terminator number 9 by said Declan Shelby. Beautiful work there on the missing skin of the Terminator. Oh, very striking image.
Mm-hmm.
Page 85 for that actual solicitation. And then any of you who are looking to check out the first volume of said series, that is also available to you on page 86. And here's the Thundercats.
Mm-hmm.
They were hiding on page 89. Also by Mr. Shelby. Look at Maddox cover E. Okay, that's a little bit of a different design, I'll say.
Yeah. It's taking us into Thundercats Roar territory.
It is indeed. And Ed Brisson's Thundercats Lost, issue 4, page 93. The other Thundercats, for any of you who are interested in where they've been up to.
And another issue in Christopher Priest and Erwin Gunduz's Vampirella run, which has started over from number 1 again. But that's on page 95. It's just more Priest content.
Yeah. And the road to issue 700 continues here, so it'll be restarted for now until they get to 700, and then magically it'll be issue 700.
Yeah, I mean they went back to legacy numbering like a year ago, starting back out in like the 690 somewhere. Apparently they didn't have enough patience to keep up with that until they actually reached number 700. So they had to go back to 1 through 4 somewhere in the 690s, and.
Hey. I hear you.
Fidgety numbering. I can't.
I know, yeah. Meanwhile, so we're in Titan now. Titan completely redesigned their solicitations. It has like a whole like beginning highlight reel and then some gems of the month in there as well. So Titan...
Well, they got so much less competition at the front of the book, you know. They wanted to look their best. Since they know so many more eyes are going to be on them now.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. We begin with on page 103, Yan Volume 1. This is a journey of suspense and action as the mystery of Yan Tie Hua return leaves a trail of death and destruction. Despite having been declared dead 10 years prior in prison records, she's now back and seeking vengeance for her family's massacre, the same crime that she was imprisoned for. This is by Chang Sheng. It's going to be on sale June 11th, and it's available on page 103 out of the Titan Manga imprint. Some damn fine artwork to follow it up with. Now here is said Skull Island on page 106. And this is being spotlighted in not just one catalog, but 2 catalogs, as Titan is not exclusive. So they can be wherever the hell they want to be.
This made the cover of the Lunar catalog.
Yes, it did. Yep. And Return to Skull Island, number 1 of 4 by Simon Furman and Chris Jones. Kong returns. Spinning out of the hit Netflix show, a ragtag group of castaways must return to an island steeped in dark secrets and danger. After Kong's battle with the Kraken, survivors soon discover that far worse lurks in the shadows and that their unlikely ally may not be able to protect them from Skull Island's horrors. Really beautiful color work on this. I know that they're mimicking the animated style of the cartoon, but excellent job on the color, and really impressed by that on page 106. Really pops. And on subsequent pages, we get a whole lot of the same old shit here, but then onward we go to the Savage Sword of Conan, Patrick Zerker and Fabian Nicieza on the writing chores for this, with Patrick Zerker and Sean Chen on the artwork chores. Get some Sean Chen Conan action for everybody here. So happy to see his artwork in any form, and this also features covers by Alex Horley and the late Neil Adams. Incredible art pinups and more available for you on page 112. And of course, the ongoing by Mr. Jim Zub, Conan the Barbarian, issue 22 on page 115. And some reprint action continues with the original comics omnibus, volume 7. They're not even bothering with the Conan Comics Group
banner. No, I noticed that too.
Exactly. Just cut it off and expand it a little bit, and then you don't have to worry about it anymore. Brilliant idea. Brilliant. That's on page 118. This is interesting too. The long-awaited follow-up to Conan and the Emerald Lotus, Conan City of the Dead by John C. Hawking. This is a 512-page softcover, only $18. Not bad.
Yeah. Yep, it appears to be an actual prose novel.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Yep. 2 epics in one book as Conan the Mercenary faces hideously transformed wizards and undead creatures. An action-packed fantasy combining Robert E. Howard's trademark sword and sorcery with the concepts straight out of the Lovecraftian horror.
Mm-hmm. With some illustrations by Richard Pace.
Excellent. That's on page 120. And the Loose End gets a 1 through 4 pack here. Gotta mention the Dwatch.
Mm-hmm. Every time. Yep, this is not even a trade paperback. It's just all 4 issues of the miniseries bagged together. Yep. Just in case you missed them.
Indeed. Yep, and that is available. Do check it out if you have not checked it out yet. This is actually going to be on sale July 9th, by the way. So this is an early solicit of that, essentially. But on page 121, you can find that. And the Home Alone homage cover, absolutely love that one. Further along, Charles Arday gives us the 2nd issue of Heatseeker Exposed, a Gun Honey series. Praised by celebrity crime writers Ed Brubaker, Max Allan Collins, and Dwayne Straczynski. This is a new 4-issue mini. And if that ain't praise enough for you, then you should probably check it out and see whether or not it is actually worth it. And hey, it takes place in New York City. And there's their attempt at a subway car on the bottom there on page 122. Came close, but the font is wrong.
Mm. Yeah, she certainly is exposed, isn't she?
She sure is. And the rest of you can find that out for yourselves. Those of you on video just saw it. We ain't talking about it. What I will mention is the Blade Runner 2029 Complete Series Omnibus. So this is kind of a continuation of Blade Runner past Blade Runner 2049. We're in 2029. This actually collects Reunion, Echoes, and Redemption all into one volume. So Mike Green and Mike Johnson are the writers, and Andres Guinaldo continues to be your artist throughout. 336 pages of Blade Runner action available on page 126, and it is some beautiful artwork, I gotta say. Really captures the feel of the Blade Runner universe. Whole lot of rain. Right. I think that's about it for Titan. And once I set myself up for later on in the book, you know what? Actually, Marvel's Iron Man, the first 60 years, I will mention in passing. It's a comics history of Iron Man, in-depth at his greatest battles, deadliest enemies, and unlikeliest allies. It's a reference book, essentially, with some pretty pictures included with it. And Titan is putting that one out again. They also put out Marvel Studios' first 10 years, Marvel Studios' Complete Avengers, a whole bunch of other similar books. And this is just like that, only for the comic book version of Iron Man. And you'll find that on page 137. And is this a prose novel here?
It appears to be, yeah.
A Black Panther on the very next page. Black Panther, Panther's Rage. By somebody whose name is Sheree Renee Thomas. And a prose Fantastic Four Coming of Galactus book. With a very classic cover to go along with it. Also on page 139 there.
And on page 140, just in time for the 50th anniversary of the film that it's celebrating, Jaws, Memories from Martha's Vineyard, revised and updated edition. It appears to be a collection of photos and anecdotes from Martha's Vineyard Island locals who helped to work on and chronicle the making of the Jaws movie. So it's their memories, their insider photographs. It's interesting account of the making of that film. Is it Jaws? Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. And those of you who have not checked out Is It Jaws, check out Is It Jaws. They're friends of ours.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We'll end it off there and head on over to DC.
All right.
And we got a lot to talk about this month, beginning with part 4 of Hitush uh, on page 1 here, Batman number 161. Please stop putting numbers in the middle of words. Just stop.
It's very difficult to pronounce, both phonetically and typographically speaking. It's not a good idea.
Yeah, Van Forstick says please stop, and yet they did it here for Hush 2, but this is the 4th issue of this Hush series. As we said last episode, this isn't even going to be the end of it. Once they're done with like the 6 issues they're putting out here, there's going to be more to come later on. But Jeff Loeb, Jim Lee. If you're into Hush, it's worth checking out. I haven't read the first issue yet. I'm waiting for it to hit DC Unlimited Universe, whatever they're calling it. And once they do, then I will read it and see whether or not I like it. But we shall see. Page 1 for said Batman action. And then Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong 2, baby. Successful enough that it needed a second.
I guess. Yeah, I bought the first one. It was just too silly a mashup not to read. I've got a soft spot for that kind of thing. It was okay. A little on the fence about whether I want to read a second volume of it, but the fact that it's a 32-page comic for $4.99, which from the big two at least I do try to avoid, I may just give this one a pass.
All right, fair enough. This one's going to have Task Force X involved in the plans.
Yep. Task Force X equals Suicide Squad, by the way, for those of you
yes, indeed. Yep.
Filling out your scorecards at home.
Mm-hmm. Justice League travels to legendary Earth and must face the dangers of the Hollow Earth, Kong, and Godzilla, King of the Monsters. I like the fact that it's a alternate universe, which means it's in the DC multiverse. Godzilla and Kong are in the DC multiverse. Yes.
Yeah, Godzilla gets around because he's in the Marvel multiverse too, as we'll see a little later on.
I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, yeah.
But you will. You will.
Yes. Oh, man. This cover for Superman Unlimited, I actually kind of love it. There's something battle torn and just well executed about it.
Mm-hmm. It's Superman facing a couple of common street hoods in an alley somewhere, armed with shivs and brass knuckles made of kryptonite. Because that's the world he's living in now, thanks to Dan Slott.
Indeed. Yep. And variant covers by Lionel Francis Yu, Tony S. Daniels, and Stephen Beach to go along with this particular cover. Dan Slott and Raphael Albuquerque are your writing and art team for this. I can't wait to read issue 1. I'm completely in with a creative team like that. This is going to be some really fun Superman storytelling.
Yeah, see, I really want to read me some Dan Slott Superman. So even though it is 32 pages and $4.99, I'll be breaking my rule for that, at least. Just as I have been for Al Ewing's Immortal Thor from Marvel for like 2 years now.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, how about page 5? Red Kryptonite, baby. It's been a while.
And it can be a little longer. It's going to take more than just Red Kryptonite to get me to shell out the $5 for that.
Yep. Nothing can stop Superman's Red K infection, so Lois Lane goes to the people who infected the Man of Steel in the first place. The Lex Luthor Revenge Squad. You need some sort of guitar riff with that one. It's kind of hard not to. Man, Dr. Farm and Mr. Graff make a shocking return. Don't miss a key issue for the future of Superman and Lex Luthor. As you said, $4.99 for 32 pages. So, yeah.
But on the bottom of that page, man, Tom King's Wonder Woman run is taking a wonderful turn here. with issue number 22, bottom of page 5, The Mouse Man cometh. A long-forgotten Silver Age antagonist of Wonder Woman, rescued Kite Man style from obscurity by Tom King. And this, that cover is by Daniel Sampere is wonderful. And this is $4.99 for 40 pages, so I can, without any further soul searching or agonizing. Yeah, it's. I'm buying this for sure.
Yep, absolutely, and it has that backup to make it worth it. And if Kite Man was Kite Man, hell yeah, then I assume that Mouse Man is going to be Mouse Man, heck yes. So I look forward to that. I also love that the costume looks significantly like the Tick's Arthur, and I don't know if it's intentional or not, but strong Arthur vibes.
That's just kind of how Mouse Man looked back in the '60s, I think.
Good stuff. Good stuff indeed. Meanwhile, Trinity gets her own miniseries by Mr. King, along with Belen Ortega, along for the ride. This is going to be a 6-issue miniseries for Trinity, daughter of Wonder Woman. That's available on page 6 of the DC catalog. You won't want to miss Lizzie's first full-size adventure. Ain't she adorbs? There's puppies. There's puppies in capes.
Yep.
And they're corgis.
Potentially infinite corgis, yes.
Mm-hmm. Perhaps there will be a crisis on infinite corgis. Perhaps. Okay, maybe not. All right. Absolute Bane. Man, he's been working out. He kind of forgot leg day, though. He kind of only really focused on the arms this time around. That's a design choice. That is definitely a design choice.
There have been a lot of those going around in the Absolute series.
Yes, indeed. Yep. So we get ourselves Absolute Bane here as a brand new story arc begins for the Absolute Batman. Scott Snyder, Nick Dragotta on page 8. Superman gets the second arc of his series as well by Jason Aaron and Rafa Sandoval on page 9. And Absolute Wonder Woman issue 9 on page 10. I kind of really dig the Flash costume that they have for Wally in the Absolute Universe. Very unique and yet incredibly distinct. Has kind of like a cross between the Kid Flash and Impulse costumes with a little bit of Walter West thrown in for good measure.
And do you remember John Fox?
I do, yes.
Yep, there's some of that in there too.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Good work here by Jeff Lemire. This is the 4th issue of a very different take on The Flash, and it's Wally, and that makes me a happy man. Angel.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of good bubbling creative juices on these Absolute series. The problem is there's so many of them now, and they're all $4.99, and you kind of got to be selective. But if I had to choose only one of these Absolute series to continue following going forward, the one that you have on screen right now is the one that I would choose.
Yeah, I haven't read the first issue yet. I cannot wait to. It's gotten very, very, very big praise by a lot of people that I trust. And Denise Camp, Javier Rodriguez, Absolute Martian Manhunter. This is issue 4 of said series on page 12. Meanwhile, Absolute Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, cursed. Cursed, I say. He's been overcome by his curse and has turned his sights on Joe. Joe being the Green Lantern that we are focusing on in this particular series. So, yeah, not great. Not great for Hal. Bad things happen in the Absolute Universe for people that we know. We missed the first issue of the new Supergirl series, but here in Supergirl number 2, the secret origin of Lesla Lar is revealed, and there's 2 Supergirls. There have been 2 Supergirls before, but now there's 2 Supergirls again. So there you go.
Yep, and there's also Titano the Super Ape, so in for that.
Yes, absolutely. And 32 pages for $3.99.
Exactly.
Well done. Well done. Page 14 for that one. And Tom Taylor, a team-up most foul, as Batman and the Penguin have found themselves unlikely allies on a mission that has taken them out of Gotham and into an entirely unexpected new location. Gotta love the pun action. Gotta love it. Tom Taylor, Lee Garbett, Detective Comics, issue 1098. We are almost at 1,100 issues of Detective Comics.
That is something.
Justice League Unlimited hits its 8th issue. Mark Waid and Travis Moore on the writing and artwork for this. This is issue 6 of 6 of the We Are Yesterday crossover that we were talking about last episode. So conclusion of that happens here in issue 8. And then coming to a close as well is Justice League The Atom Project number 6. Ryan Parrott and John Ridley, art by Mike Perkins on page 15. And here for the thing that we very much talked about last episode that we're happy to see solicited this time around on page 16. The floor is yours, Mr. Murd.
The new history of the DC Universe. Learn the definitive history. I have to smirk whenever I hear the word definitive, because when it comes to something as mercurial as superhero comics, there can be no such thing as definitive. But definitive for the moment history of the DC Universe. I mean, it's Mark Waid dipping back into decades of DC history, which he knows better than most people alive, with artwork for this issue, different art teams to come, by Jerry Ordway and Todd Knock. And we're dealing with the beginning of time through the Justice Society, basically, in this first 48-page issue. Bye. Just as our departed brother Jamie D would have said. Oh, yeah. And I got to see about getting my hands on the Scott Koblish illustrated Legacy variant, as seen on page 17, with almost literally all the Golden Age characters on it.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Just dozens and dozens of DC National, Quality Comics, and Fawcett Publications characters, heroes, villains, supporting characters, love interests, sidekicks, second bananas, comic reliefs, funny animals, cowboys, spacemen, you name it.
I haven't changed the wallpaper on my computer in a very, very long time. I may very well be changing the wallpaper to my computer to this. This is just one of the most beautiful pieces of artwork I have seen in, I cannot tell you how long. It's just so lovingly rendered, as we said, very much in the vein of what George Perez used to do whenever these type of events would happen.
Absolutely.
And it's just so great. It really is, like, so much history in there.
Yep, it cries out to be footnoted. Maybe someday somebody will.
Perhaps.
Personally, I think I could name more than half of those characters, but by no means all of them. There's a lot of deep cuts on there. So if that cover, that Legacy variant, is not too expensive, I think I may be ordering myself a copy of that.
Nice. Meanwhile, I have high praise for Aquaman. The first couple issues of that have been great. Jeremy Adams knocking it out as usual. Big Blue Battle Royale in issue 6. Can the power of Thalassa, the Tri-Lance Saber, be enough to unite Aquaman and his people? Yes, it can, because it's called Thalassa, the Tri-Lance Saber. Oh my God, that is so brilliant.
It is a very cool name for a very striking weapon.
Absolutely. Yep. And then on page 18, Worlds Collide, as we get some New Gods crossover with Superman and Wonder Woman and Green Arrow and all that jazz. So more New Godsy shenanigans happening with Ran V in issue 7 on page 18. Now, here's something I did not see coming. Yeah.
Action Comics number 1087, another title that's inching towards 1100 issues. On page 19, Mark Waid is apparently, he wrote this for a little while. He did that Phantom Zone arc a few months back. Yep. But now he seems to be taking it over again, joined by artist Skylar Patridge. And he seems to be bringing a costumed teenage Clark Kent Superboy back into continuity here in the present-day DCU.
Everything new, old is new again, and it makes sense when you think about it. So many different iterations have been done over the years, and it just kind of never really made sense to take it away in the first place.
Somebody at DC in the 80s thought it was a silly concept. Probably John Byrne. He didn't want Superman as a boy in Smallville to be a factor. And we've been dancing around it ever since.
Yep, but if there's one man who believes that everything that happened, it is Mark Waid.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mr. Hypertime himself.
You better damn well believe it. So yeah, I'm all for it if the story calls for it, and chances are the story is 100% going to call for it here on page 19. So welcome back, Superboy. Thank you for not being Superboy Prime. I hate you.
Stay out of your parents' basement.
Yes, definitely. And Harley Quinn reaches the all-important issue 52.
52.
It's on page 20. I will also point out that Poison Ivy now has 34 issues. The little series that could.
I'll say, because it was originally solicited as like a 6-issue mini, right? And now it's sextupled that runtime.
100%, yep. G. Will Wilson's still on it. Marcio Takara on the artwork chores still, yeah. Keep it chugging, page 20. Get the old Titans Tower on a lockdown in Nightwing 127. Nightwing sporting a costume reminiscent to what he wore in the Young Justice cartoon. A lot more black there with a smaller Nightwing insignia on the front of it as well.
Yeah, I particularly like the take on the insignia.
I agree. Yep, good stuff. Page 21 for that, and Dan Waters and Dexter Soy on the writing and artwork. Star City in the sights of the Crimson Archer. Interesting to have him back in Star. And Chris Condon and Montos bring us said story. As Oliver Queen has mentored many a hero, but he also once unknowingly mentored a villain. Herb Vaney, the crime lord impersonating a socialite who took Ollie's training and became the Crimson Archer. Now, as Oliver tries to build a fairer Star City for everyone in the wake of the freshwater killings, the Crimson Archer reappears with their own plans. Archers Gone Bad are definitely the main villain of Green Arrow, and this one, unfortunately, is his Red Hood. So, page 22 for that. Rise of the Starbreaker Corps. I almost feel like that one needs heavy metal, but I'm not going to provide it.
Yeah, it sounds pretty metal, doesn't it?
That's Kyle's helmet on the floor. Bad things better not have happened to Kyle, Mr. Adams. Otherwise, we're going to have words. Okay, I'm just saying. But yeah, there's some shenanigans afoot, definitely. And the Starbreaker Corps amasses its forces as the last pieces of its plan come into being and threaten the universe. But what does this mean for Hal Jordan and Carol Ferris? And most importantly, what does it have to do with Kyle Rayner? So we will definitely find that out in issue 24 of Jeremy Adams' Green Lantern series.
And Green Lantern Corps number 5 has Space Cabbie.
Yes. Talk about another character that very much has not been mentioned in probably quite some time.
Not recently, no, but Jeremy Adams remembers.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Jeremy Adams remembers. Page 23 for that. Gotta love it.
But you gotta love what's on page 24 even more than that. Because it's Crypto getting a miniseries. I mean, it's not the first time Crypto's had a miniseries, but this is kind of a more in-continuity kind of miniseries. It's Crypto, the Last Dog of Krypton, number 1, written by Ryan North, a man who has written everything from Adventure Time to Fantastic Four. He's now giving us a Crypto and Super Baby story, basically. It's the adventures of Crypto when he was just a normal pup on Krypton with little baby Kal-El, because Kal-El being a baby on Krypton before being launched to Earth is back in canon too, apparently. And it's art, of course, by our good friend Mike Naughton, who we will be supporting. And it's a cover by, of all people, Jay Lee.
Yes.
Doing this wonderful Art Deco take on Kryptonian technology and this lovely early 20th century children's book-worthy image of little baby Kal-El and Crypto with his cape flapping behind him, keeping him out of trouble.
And we get to see Mike Norton draw more dogs, which is always a positive. Like, there's anybody who lovingly draws dogs better than Mike Norton. I have not met that person, and he gets to draw frickin' Crypto. So more power to him on that.
Yeah, be interested to see what breed his take on Crypto resembles. I hope it looks more like a bull terrier and less like whatever shaggy thing has been in the trailers for the upcoming movie. Because thrilled as I am that Crypto is going to be on the big screen and played more or less straight, It's my one quibble there is that Crypto he doesn't look as much like a West Highland Terrier as they make him look in the trailers we've seen. He's supposed to look more like a Bull Terrier. Anyway.
James Gunn based him on his own real life dog, so
okay,
that's why they wound up changing the breed.
Directorial bias. Got it. Just Mike, don't draw that, okay? I mean,
I think we're good.
Several months ago when you were already drawing this, don't have drawn that.
Yes, exactly. Yep. Secret 6 issue 4, a Secret 6 snafu. I like saying those words.
Snappy.
Yep. We get some Catman Deadshot action going on here, so that could be very, very interesting and painful, especially painful. And meanwhile, continuing, we didn't get a chance to mention issue 1 last month, but Mr. Terrific Year 1 by Al Letson and Valentin Delandro. We get a origin for the Michael Holt version of Mr. Terrific.
Yep. And good on them for involving the Spectre, because Michael Holt did make his first appearance back in the 90s during the John Ostrander and Tom Mandrake run on the Spectre.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Page 25 for that. Mark Waid and Adrian Gutierrez bring us Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent in the clutches of late night TV. And I know it's not Conan O'Brien's set, but it gives me some Conan and Andy vibes, definitely. So I'm more than happy that this issue's happening.
Apparently, pending approval, there will be a variant cover with Stephen Colbert on it.
Love it. Absolutely love it. I am all for that. Page 26. Page 27, we get the Titans are in for something terrible. Yeah.
Yep, in an arc which began just yesterday as we're recording this, when number 22 hit shelves, as Terra has begun assembling her own team of her Titans Revenge Squad, I guess you could call it.
Yep. Well, they need villains, and that's certainly going to wind up getting some shenanigans going on, so nicely done there. I'm more interested on what's on the bottom of that page, as we get a Lost Adventure in the Justice Society of America. That cover is pitch perfect.
It really is. Michael Cho perfectly captures, the cover designs of the era in this new artwork featuring members of the JSA / All-Star Squadron versus the Sorcerer Wotan.
Yep. And the Spear of Destiny involved as well. So.
Oh, the spear is in play.
Yes, indeed. Yep.
God damn.
Can't get more Justice Society of America than the Spear of Destiny. Page 27 once again for that. Page 28, we get Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nguyen. Excellent team right there. Whenever Dustin Nguyen touches Batman, I'm happy. This gives us Robin and Batman, Jason Todd, #1. So this is essentially going to be a retelling of the beginning of the relationship between Batman and Robin. And it's funny that this comes out now, because I just saw and posted to the Comic Timing fan group images of a new Batman and Robin animated series that almost wound up happening in the mid '80s with showrunner J. Michael Straczynski.
Mid '80s.
Yep, it would have featured Batman and Jason Todd. So that almost happened before the Batman the Animated Series that we all know and love. And it was about to go to production when the company behind it lost the rights to Batman, and then it wasn't able to happen after that. So probably will look more like the Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends era animated series than anything else. But almost happened, did not wind up happening.
Yeah. Do you think that would have been Filmation?
No, I don't believe it was Filmation. Actually, let me find the actual article that I posted. But it was
Filmation did produce a Batman cartoon at some point, and I know JMS. He worked on He-Man.
Okay, I actually remember. I remember what wound up taking its place in their production. So let me find the name of the company. Ba, 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 ba. Who put it out? Nelvana Limited.
Oh, okay, the Canadian company.
Indeed. Yep. When they lost the rights to Batman, they wound up doing Beetlejuice.
Ah, that was the next cartoon I was going to mention because whenever I see their logo with the big sort of Big Dipper bear in the sky, I always think of bump bump bump, the last few notes of the Beetlejuice animated theme.
Yep. Yep. And their initial like test images they did for this animated series that didn't wind up happening even had the blonde hair on Jason Todd. So that's the style that they would have been going for potentially for their series that didn't wind up happening.
Easier to distinguish him for copyright purposes, I guess, from Dick Grayson that way.
Absolutely. But
trademark purposes, whichever.
Yep. I also like the design on the costume. The choices there made by Dustin Nguyen, foregoing the red circle on the R and just having it be a red costume with a black R directly on it. Shades of Tim's costume, but also uniquely and distinctly different. So I like it. Robin and Batman, Jason Todd, #1, Jeff Lemire, Dustin Nguyen on page 28. And Batman and Robin 22, we get some Etrigan action. Love me some Batman and Etrigan. That's what the animated series instilled in me, is Batman and Etrigan are kind of like forever linked.
And usually when they meet, Etrigan is physically much larger, because that's how Bruce Timm envisioned him, I guess.
Indeed. Yep. Philip Kennedy Johnson and Javi Fernandez are the writing and artwork chores on this particular Etrigan, and whether or not he will rhyme depends on whether they decided to make him rhyme. We shall see. Speaking of Mr. Waid, the continuation of Waid and Somni's Batman and Robin Year 1, issue 8 of that on page 29. And speaking of Mr. Etrigan, he's going to show up in Fire and Ice when Hell Freezes Over, issue 3. It's a busy month for Etrigan. Zatanna issue 5 on that same page 30. And we get our DC Pride special for the year on page 32, which will include Tim Sheridan returning to Alan Scott after his well-regarded miniseries. He'll have himself a story inside of this particular issue with a great cover by one of my favorite artists, Chris Anka, to go along with it. Tim Sheridan, Vita Ayala, Josh Trujillo, Sam Maggs, Maya Houston, Jude Ellison, S. Doyle, artwork by Emilio Pilio, Skylar Partridge, A.L. Kaplan, Max Sarin, Vincent Cecil, and others. AKA they hadn't decided on a few of them at the time. But we got Midnighter and Apollo, Harley Quinn, Green Lantern, Joe Mullen, Bunker, Connor Hawk. Happy to see that. Blue Snowman, and that's a name I wasn't expecting to hear, but there he is.
Yeah, well, this might be considered an early example of a trans character.
Yes, so, yep. But yeah, page 32 for DC Pride 2025. Always love the variety of stories that wind up in those type of specials. Issue 3 of the Resurrection of Resurrection Man on page 34. We got ourselves Peacemaker presents the Vigilante Igui double feature issue 4. I pointed out mainly for the cover, which is very manga with Japanese text and sandwich.
Yes, that is absurd.
Indeed. Page 36 for that insanity. Still not as insane as DCX Sonic the Hedgehog on page 37, but beside the point. And we get some more of the Hush facsimile editions, issues 618 and 619 of the original Hush, available on page 38.
A couple of Batman Legends of the Dark Knight Halloween specials from the 90s. A little early for Halloween, but there they are. A random Golden Age issue of Batman at the bottom of page 39.
Batman number 9. Yep.
And then on page 40, we've got the well-regarded Joe Kelly written Action Comics number 775, What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, and the American Way story, introducing Manchester Black and his Elite. That's been reprinted many times. Now it's a facsimile edition. And on the same page, Adventure Comics number 210, the first appearance of Crypto the Superdog.
Yes, an incredibly relevant facsimile edition that I'm glad they're putting out. So excellent work there, page 40.
And notice in this Kurt Swan drawn image, the first of Crypto, he doesn't look much like a Westie.
Very, very true. Yes.
Take that, James Gunn.
Hey.
I'm glad you love your dog, but keep him out of canon, please.
Meanwhile, this Death of Superman Absolute Edition could not be more stunning. Wow. Whew. Man, the work they put into this cover and just how grim it looks in a lot of ways. Putting the death in there and the funeral aspect of it all. Death of Superman Absolute Edition. This collects pretty much all of the Death of Superman into one oversized edition. Had some beautiful artwork, so I can only imagine what Tom Grumman artwork is going to look like in Absolute format, along with Butch Geis and Dan Jurgens and John Bogdanov and tons of others in there for good measure. On page 42, so if you want the Death of Superman as big as you can possibly get it, this is the way it's going to do it, and it has itself a tombstone, so...
That is a hell of a put-up.
Get a Nubia graphic novel for the young adults, 6x9 in its format by L.L. McKinney and Robin Smith. Very smart idea, and it's called Nubia Too Real. Page 44. Also a Teen Titans Robin Connecting Cover Edition on page 45. Raven Roth, Garfield Logan, Maxine Navarro, and Damian Wayne are on the run from Slade Wilson, from Hive, and the horrible experiments Hive conducted at their expense. Nice alternate universe Teen Titans going on page 45.
Kind of reminds me of the beginning of the New 52 Teen Titans series.
A little bit, yeah.
Seem to recall that they were lab rats in that, too.
Only this is probably better, quite frankly.
Probably.
And the Absolutes start getting their collections. Page 46 and 47 give you Absolute Batman, Absolute Wonder Woman, and Absolute Superman Volume 1. And Volume 1 of Mark Waid's Justice League Unlimited, available on page 48 as well. 49 gives us New Gods and Harley Quinn getting Volume 1s. And then we're into the reprints, including DC Horror Presents Creature Commandos. So if you're wondering where the Creature Commandos got their start, this is where well, no, I'm sorry. This is the newer one. I'm sorry. My bad.
Yeah. The older one would have taken us all the way back to the early 80s.
You're right. Yeah. I knew I was wrong when I saw David Desmalkian in there. Like, okay, fine, okay. But yeah, this is the more recent miniseries that wound up happening, written by David Desmalkian, who's been in literally everything, and is also a writer, and Jesus Hervas on the artwork chores. So that miniseries is collected on page 50.
Now, on page 51, we've got some very interesting collections. DC Finest, Justice League of America, The Return. What this boils down to is the beginning of the 80s pre-crisis Detroit bunker Justice League. It's collecting JL of A, Volume 1, 241 through 261, the third annual, which I think was a Crisis crossover, and Infinity Inc. number 19, which was also part of a Crisis crossover between the Detroit League and Infinity Inc. Mm-hmm. So that's all stuff that would be of interest to Shane, perhaps, although I'm sure he already owns it. At the bottom of the page is a compact edition collection of DC The New Frontier by Darwin Cook, which was one of the best DC stories of the past 30 years. I think we can all agree. And right in the middle, though, what really has me stoked. Now, I seem to remember seeing this solicited somewhere before. Mm-hmm. But here it comes again. Maybe they had to re-solicit it for some reason, but it's DC Finest Blue Beetle. Blue Beetle challenges the Red Knight. And that's an odd title for this collection to have. It's kind of burying the lead, because having done my research here, just fact-checked all the different issues included, this is basically a complete collection of every 1960s Charlton comic, containing a significant appearance of the Blue Beetle. Whether we're talking about the Dan Garrett version or the slightly later Ted Kord version, this is pretty much every Charlton Blue Beetle comic of the 60s collected in one trade. Nice. 368 pages, $40. Some of these are kind of hard to find at this point. I'm pretty excited to order this, actually.
Yeah, I think you are right that this may have been solicited a couple of months back, and this is a resolicit. And we know that the other Blue Beetle collection exists because we know Shane discussed that previously, and that had some other Blue Beetle DC Finest stuff inside of it. But
I think that might have been from the 80s Len Wein series.
I believe you're right. Yes. Yep. And that also had didn't that also have the no, you know what? Yeah. I think I know why it's so in our memory. I think I literally mentioned this last episode because we were talking about Blue Beetle, and then I came across the DC Finest Blue Beetle. But I guess maybe this is a resolicit. I don't know. It's so my brain is jumbled now. I literally don't know where we found this one way or the other. Either way, it's here now. It's available for solicitation, and it's stuff that was out of print for quite some time, being back in print. So that is very nice to see.
Yep, it is the complete Silver Age Blue Beetle. So
yep, absolutely.
Bye for sure.
Bye for sure. And I'm very glad that now there quite literally is the largest possible format for DC New Frontier and the smallest possible format for DC New Frontier. So and there's in the middle, there's just a regular trade or a regular hardcover available in one form or another as well.
Oh, so, sure.
Yep. So literally any way you want to read New Frontier, you can. So read it. Definitely. You'll love it. If you have not already done so. The Stephanie Brown Batgirl gets a volume 2. This is the 2025 edition of said volume 2 by Brian Q. Miller. Absolutely love this particular run of Batgirl. I think Stephanie as Batgirl worked really well. That's available on the page 52 that we know and love. Also, some new Nightfall omnibuses available. This is volume 3, Night's End. And a little bit further down, we get Creature Commandos present Frankenstein Agent of Shade, Book 2 by Jeff Lemire and Matt Kint. So Jeff Lemire and Matt Kint's take on Frankenstein, available for everybody on page 54. And Justice League International, Book 2, Around the World, for the Shanes of the world that are completionists and need to get every single edition of it. This is the 2025 edition. With probably the wrong logo that'll probably be changed out by the time it winds up coming into actual publication on page 54. Unless they already printed it, in which case, well. And 55 has the City of Tomorrow compendium. Great stuff by Joe Kelly and Jeff Loeb. That was some of my favorite Superman stories of the time, with especially the Jeff Loeb and Ed McGuinness stuff. And Ed McGuinness was a writer on a decent amount of it. I'm sorry, artist on a decent amount of it. Doug Mahnke included in there as well. Some good mid-2000s Superman action.
Yeah. Yep. Some of the J.M. DeMatteis run-on adventures of Superman is in here, too, which I prize because of the attention he paid to the prankster, giving him a revamped powers and an expanded backstory. He's one of my favorite members of Supes' Rogues Gallery. And So DeMatteis doing his villain doctoring thing on him during this period of time. That's probably in this collection.
Excellent. All right, let's head over to Marvel. Marvel, baby, Marvel. And once again, congratulations. Fantastic Four actually has a Fantastic Four Disney variant. All right, moving on.
It's a pretty cool one, too, you got to admit.
It is, actually. I like the inwards to infinity of it all. That's good times.
Yep, that's from the Byrne run.
Yep. And we get ourselves Godzilla versus Avengers here. Let's just bring it all home. Godzilla's everywhere. You know this. David F. Walker on the writing. George Jonti on the artwork. Okay, you have me intrigued.
That is a very interesting creative team.
Yeah, really. And this cover by Mike Allred is like everything. I want it. I just want it. Oh man. Round 5 versus the New Avengers. The original New Avengers return to face an unstoppable enemy, Godzilla. In the aftermath of a massive battle between Godzilla, Fin Fang Foom, the Avengers, and Jet Jaguar. Yeah, baby. Shield tried to make sense of what went down, but everyone's telling a different story. What really happened during that fateful clash? Find out when Earth's mightiest heroes take on Earth's mightiest kaiju.
Wow.
Yeah.
And a Jet Jaguar appearance for good measure. And Julie Benson, I hope you're listening.
Hell yeah. Yep.
They're playing our song.
Oh my God. And oh my God. You got Lionel Francis Yu to do a New Avengers variant for this? Oh my God, man. Damn you all. Well, did they just completely forego page numbers entirely this time? They sure did. Wow.
No, not entirely. There are some a little later on.
Okay. Oh yeah, there we go. There we go. I can kind of barely make out a 3 there, so now I know this is issue 4. Okay, great, fantastic. At page 4, that is Imperial.
Right.
Number 1 of 4. Jonathan Hickman, Federico Vicentini. Jonathan Hickman's been doing some interesting stuff lately. I say interesting because I feel like Marvel's almost doing some of this stuff out of obligation. And I don't know why, because you have Jonathan Hickman, and I love the fact that he's touching on, characters like, the Hulks, Black Panthers, Novas, Guardians, and Cosmic Kings and Queens. It's a must-read book of the summer, according to Marvel, but at the same time, it's incredibly niche. And I don't know if space epic is necessarily what people are wanting from Jonathan Hickman right now. I will read it, and I will see what I think about it, but this is a different direction, certainly, for Jonathan Hickman, and hopefully he's just, doing what he wants to do, and more power to him on that, because he has a blank check with Marvel, pretty much.
Yeah, but I'd be willing to bet that a lot of the characters thrown in here were thrown in at editorial request.
I'm sure,
So
yeah.
we'll just see what kind of story salad he can come up with based on what he's got to work with here.
Yeah, the black and white interiors are quite lovely, and I'm sure they're going to look that much better even with some color.
Yes, I will definitely at least give it a look. And now, here comes the heard round the world.
Yep.
Pages 8 and 9. This is the one remark that Chris actually made to us about this catalog and what he's most excited about in it. This is Marvel Knights, The World to Come, number 1 of 6. Story by Quesada and Christopher Priest, written by Priest, art by Quesada, and it's set in a future timeline of the Marvel Universe, so Priest can liberate himself from whatever excuse for continuity Marvel is floating right now and just do what he wants in a future realm. I am interested to see how much of Priest's original Marvel Knights late 90s vision for Black Panther, which incorporated a heck of a lot of the Black Panther's history to date in it, is incorporated here, because then much of what Priest did was scrapped in favor of what Reginald Hudlin came in and did shortly after that, and there have been several other scrappings since then to accommodate the movies and whatnot, and so I'm just curious what elements of his previous work and of other people's work he's going to choose to include in this alternate future revamped Marvel Knights take on T'Challa.
Only one person could take down Black Panther, and that's Captain America. Meanwhile, Reginald Hudlin comes along. Captain America cannot defeat Black Panther. Like, okay. Yeah. But
a lot of other stuff happened when Hudlin came along, but that's water long under the bridge.
Let me also say, this is the first time, and I can't tell you how many years I've seen interior artwork by Joe Quesada, and I really like it. Like, this is easily some of the best Joe Quesada artwork I've seen in years.
It does seem as if he's matured a bit, doesn't it?
It does, and which is funny because his style had changed significantly around the time of when he was doing the artwork on, One More Day, and didn't really like that. Was not a fan of that at all. this feels like a perfect blend of that style and old Casada. Like he's honed his craft, and I can't wait to see what this is going to look like. I can't wait to see what it's going to feel like, and I'm definitely reading this whole damn thing. This is a return to form for both creators. Let's see where it goes.
Mm-hmm. Can hear Chris shouting "in" from all the way in New Jersey.
Yes, indeed. Yep. And then on page 12, we get ourselves a new Spider-Girl. This is Torin Grobik with Andre Riso on the artwork. Here comes the sensational Spider-Girl spinning out of the pages of Spider-Boy. After Bullseye's betrayal, Spider-Girl is trying her hand at being a hero when a clash with Vermin reveals that a major spider nemesis is tracking her. Spider-Girl will have to figure out what this villain wants and which of their allies will try to kill her next. Love the Wolverine variant by Javier Garrón there, with her just holding her own quote-unquote claws next to Wolverine. It's pretty great.
Yeah, the look on Wolverine's face.
Yep. Then, of course, a Thunderbolt series. We could have never saw that one coming.
Yep, it's New Thunderbolts asterisk #1.
Yep.
And that asterisk is really beginning to bug the hell out of me.
Sam Humphries on the writing chores, Tan Lima on the artwork. What a cast of characters.
Yeah, yep. It's certainly not classic formula Thunderbolts. But you got your Winter Soldier and your Black Widow in there because crossover audience. And then you've got Hulk, Namor, Clea, Laura Kinney, extra. I don't even know what she's calling herself these days. Yeah. And Carnage.
Yep, I think she is actually just going by Wolverine. If I remember correctly, she's getting the Hawkeye treatment, meaning that there could be multiples out there at the same time.
Okay. And I guess this could be the Eddie Brock version of Carnage, since I think he has the red symbiote these days.
Yeah, I think you are right about that. But, that Thunderbolt, that asterisk is very much there on the cover treatment. And
it has been suggested that, as it appears in the title of the movie, it has some significance. Maybe they're planning to pull a Falcon and the Winter Soldier / Captain America and the Winter Soldier last-minute title change on us.
Yep. I'm still betting they're going to wind up the Dark Avengers, quite frankly. Whether or not that is actually going to be the case, we shall see. Or maybe it's just an asterisk because none of them actually agree on the name, and Thunderbolt Ross is literally the president of the United States at the moment in the Marvel universe. And why would you want to name your team after the president? So,
yeah, I think you may have something. It's kind of making me think of Mystery Men, where the members are constantly squabbling over what the name of the team should be. Maybe that's happening in this movie too. I like that idea, Ian. Exactly. Sounds like something they would write.
Page 16, I have to point out, Giant Size Dark Phoenix Saga #1. Kelly and Lanzig, along with Steve Fox, Rod Rice, and more on the artwork. Covered by Adam Kubert. The past isn't set in stone. Kamala Khan is locked in a battle through time against an unstable and unleashed legion, and she's gone from the frying pan into the Phoenix fire. As a history we know is destroyed in front of her eyes, the New Mutant must team up with Jean Grey in her darkest hour and master her dangerous New Mutant power. Very, very interesting concept here. Timey-wimey, you got me there. Alternate universe shenanigans, also, you got me there. Kelly and Lanzig, you got me there. This is gonna be a read. Yep, absolutely.
The second of 5 giant-size one-shots, and it's 48 pages for $4.99. That feels like a bargain these days.
Yes, it does. Yep. And the Kubert cover is there on page 17, and it is pretty perfect. That's we get both Kuberts doing covers this month. So nice to see the Kubert family all over the place in multiple companies this month.
Oh, and how about a second helping on the very next page?
Yep.
By a very similar creative team, the third of 5 giant-size one-shots, giant-size Age of Apocalypse. Seems to be spinning right out of the just mentioned giant-size Dark Phoenix saga.
Yep.
Kamala Khan is continuing her cross-time caper here.
Yep. And Jeff Loeb and Simone De Mayo team up for a Revelations backup tale that reveals a sinister secret about the Age of Apocalypse, one that will have dire consequences in the future. So I guess maybe we're going to get another Age of Apocalypse series, quite frankly, maybe spinning out of this. With Jeff Loeb, maybe? Who knows? And, oh man, we got Bring on the Bad Guys coming. Oh boy. Bring on the Bad Guys, Doom, Mark Guggenheim, Stefano Raphael on the artwork for that. Balance of Power is forever changed. Then on the subsequent page 22, Emma Frost, the White Queen, #1. Amy Chu and Andrea DeVito. You got me on Andrea DeVito, but is that the Maestro?
It is. It may or may not reflect anything that actually happens in the story, of course. It's a variant cover.
Sure. Yeah. But either way, before she became a mainstay of the heroic X-Men, Emma Frost had another role, White Queen of the Hellfire Club. As she grapples for power with the rest of the Inner Circle, witness Emma's ruthless ascent to the top. So kind of a year one Emma Frost here with the Hellfire Club, getting further backstory on her rise in this 5-issue mini.
Mm-hmm. Not a bad idea.
Now, also not a bad idea immediately following that on page 24. Death of the Silver Surfer, #1 of 5. A hidden gem variant cover by John Romita Jr., which I think is from one of the card packs from the 90s, just even looking at it. But I could be wrong about that. Nevertheless, it's Greg Pak on the writing with Sumit Kumar on the artwork chores. And this is supposedly Silver Surfer's final voyage. Silver Surfer returns to defend a war-ravaged Earth, but Norrin has a galaxy-sized target on his back. A new enemy will stop at nothing to steal away everything the Surfer is or ever will be. If the Surfer falls, who will wield the awesome power cosmic? And one of the Surfer's old master, Galactus, Devourer of Worlds, guest starring the Fantastic Four, of course.
Of course.
Come on. It's great. It's Greg Pak behind it, so I'm going to check it out either way. But this does sound really interesting to me. Quesada has one of the variant covers as well. Nick Bradshaw has a variant cover, and I believe this is your main here. Very moody and well put together. And then there's a foil variant by Ron Lim because it's Silver Surfer, so duh. I'm down. Now, thank you very much on page 26. That's really all I have to say about this, outside of the fact that Runaways is back for 5 issues. Make me happy for 5 issues. I don't care if it's a Doom crossover thingy and that's why it exists, but you just put Rainbow Rowell back on the Runaways for 5 issues. And Elena Casagrande is on the artwork chores. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll take my 5 issues. I hope there's more after that. This is a happy making experience. That's all.
Happy has been made.
Indeed. Also, Rainbow Rowell, go back to She-Hulk. Thank you. Avengers issue 27 brings the return of the Black Panther in modern day Marvel. As while T'Challa was away, the Masters of Evil were at play.
It looks like an interesting new take on the Masters, too.
Yeah.
I believe that's Mr. Hyde getting punched in the face there. Who has been a Master before, of course, but...
And mind you, this is an Avengers team now where if T'Challa's coming back, he's going to have to work with his ex. Because Storm and Black Panther are both Avengers. So, there we go. got to be some interesting interplay going on there, to say the least.
Might be some fallout in Storm's ongoing monthly series, which has been kind of a sleeper.
Yes, it has. Yep. Doom Academy gets its 5th and final issue, and Doctor Strange of Asgard gets 4 of 5. I like this One World Under Doom Fantastic Zero cover on page 31. This is issue 33 of Ryan North's Fantastic Four, which will soon be rebooting.
Mm-hmm. For no good reason other than that there's a movie coming out, and that elusive crossover audience will surely be clamoring for a Fantastic Four #1 of their very own.
Hey, I'll be happy to have some Humberto Ramos artwork going for it with said reboot, even if the reboot makes no sense. So that should be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the conclusion of this particular run with issue 33. Even though, as you said, Ryan North is going to continue to be the writer in the new one. But
I didn't even know that, actually. I assumed it was just going to be a different creative team entirely.
Ryan North continues his writing chores. Humberto Ramos takes over on the artwork. That's what the new reboot is going to be.
Really don't need a new #1.
I know. Yeah, I hear you. But don't worry, I'm sure they'll find a legacy reason to have it be issue 800 or something soon enough.
Yeah.
But
and then back to #1 again about 6 months later.
Exactly. Fantastic Adventure culminates in a final stirring adventure back to the beginning of everything. When a solution to what Doom did to Ben can only be found in the past, the Fantastic Four must voyage back 436 quadrillion seconds into the Big Bang. And Herbie's along for the ride as well, because, why not?
Because he's in the movie.
Oh, yeah, that's why. Page 31 for that, either way. And Spencer Ackerman continues his critically acclaimed Insurgent Iron Man, even though it's just Iron Man in the actual name. They added Insurgent to the cover treatment. So in Iron Man #9, Iron Man Disassembled. And it has Black Widow and the Winter Guard in it, for that matter. 32. The Marvel Rivals video game gets a series on page 33, co-written by Peach Momoko and Yuji Kaku, with artwork by Peach Momoko and Yuji Kaku, meaning it's going to sell a lot because Peach Momoko is very popular. But this is based on the Marvel Rivals, as I said, video game that's available on multiple platforms right now, and will very much have a manga bent to it on page 33. But page 34 is the miniseries that I am looking forward to. Jeff the Land Shark is back, baby!
So he is. This is like the third Jeff thing that they've done so far, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yep. This is a actual miniseries, not spanning out of anything outside of Jeff, because he had a Marvel Unlimited Infinite series that was then collected into a couple of issues, and this is its own thing. Hot off his appearance in Marvel Rivals and people who had never heard of him finding out who he is for the first time, Kelly Thompson and Tokitoro bring this 5-issue Jeff miniseries to life. Whoa. Hello. Giant Size Amazing Spider-Man #1. They didn't get anybody important to be on the creative team for this one. just Kevin Smith, Al Ewing, and Chip Zdarsky.
With Mark Buckingham art, among others.
Kafu. Oh my God. Wow. Well, if you're going to call something Giant Size, it may as well be frickin' Giant Size. And that is happening here. A decade-spanning adventure with Spider-Man and some of his best friends. And Chip Zdarsky and Kafu are along to introduce a brand new character who will play a big role in the future of Marvel Comics. Absolutely in for this. It's one issue. It's 64 pages. Yeah, it's $8, but I'm going to read it on Unlimited, so I don't care. Page 35.
There that is.
Oh my God, Spider-Verse versus Venomverse. And it has this, and it has the '90s pouch version of Spider-Man included. Ah, yes, excellent. Yes, I see your machinations. I see them. Well done.
Yes, it really looks like Spider Cyclops.
That's completely intentional. Yes, they tried to make him look as Liefeld Lee as humanly possible, and they got the job done. The War of the Webs spins on in issue 2 of Spider-Verse versus Venomverse on page 37. And the second issue of the Vision and Scarlet Witch miniseries as well for us. Gorgeous cover, and the Grim Reaper. Ooh, boy. Grim Reaper definitely has a history, to say the least, with both of these characters.
No, for certain.
Wow. Spider-Man and Wolverine #2. A hidden gem variant cover by Humberto Ramos that is really good. that is absolutely the way I want my Humberto Ramos cover to look on the with the rain and all that jazz. And then the main cover by Kari Andrews is just absolutely perfect as well. Just what I want from Kari Andrews. Spider-Man versus Wolverine, because obviously, I mean, come on. And Mark Guggenheim returning to Spider-Man for the first time in quite some time in this miniseries. Well, since the Brand New Day era. We have Marvel's Pride Special, Al Ewing, Anthony Oliveira, and more, as well as artwork by Kei Zama, Bailey Underwood, and more. As you're going to have stories in here of including Captain America of the Railways, Aaron Fisher, confronting the hate monger. Anthony Oliveira pens a story about the past that will reshape the future, and other stories included there for good measure. Probably some Dequen and America Chavez and all that jazz, according to the cover here. Let's see whether or not those are actually accurate, but we'll see. Fantastic Four Fanfare. Another one we missed the first issue of last month, but Jonathan Hickman, John Tyler Christopher, and Mark Buckingham. Dustin Weaver, John Tyler Christopher, and Mark Buckingham on the artwork chores, as we celebrate Marvel's first family with 3 all-new tales from Marvel's finest talent. Jonathan Hickman returns to the Fantastic Four in any way, shape, or form. I'm there for it. So, yes, please. Page 41. Very, very 90s-esque Fantastic Four designs there to be had, but good stuff.
Yeah, late 90s shading into Heroes Reborn.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Denise Camp and Cody Ziegler and Jonas Scharf bring us Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion. Miles Morales caught in the middle of a universal collision, as we get an adventure that will change Miles Morales and the Ultimate Universe forever, as Miles crosses over into the new Ultimate Universe. One of the original stars of the previous Ultimate Universe is one of the few people allowed into the new one, and he's got 2 Spider-Men along for the ride, and they're very much not the Spider-Man that he's used to. So this is going to be very interesting here. Meanwhile, great Incursion covers to be had, and then Ultimate Black Panther #17 brings us Killmonger versus the Voodoo Khan, continuing that very different version of Black Panther. And war rages on in New York City in Ultimate Spider-Man #18 on 45. Ultimates 3.0? We'll see. Second year of the Ultimates start here. Time is of the essence, and we get ourselves a new team, quite frankly. So who's going to be on it? Find out in issue 13 on page 47. Charles Soule and Steve McNiven's Daredevil Cold Day in Hell concludes with a very John Romita Jr. ass cover right there. That's that is beautiful, beautiful McNiven artwork. Oh, so nice.
Yep, it really does look like JR Jr.'s style.
Page 49 for that third and final issue. Ghost Rider versus Galactus?
Yep, this is another in a series of one-shots that I've unofficially titled Straczynski Team Up. Because it's the same series that gave us Doom and Rocket Raccoon and Captain America and Volstagg, and now we've got Ghost Rider versus Galactus.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Can Ghost Rider defeat Galactus? I'm just going to say yes. I'm just going to go with yes. Why not?
Reportedly Squirrel Girl could, so why not Ghost Rider?
Why not? Page 52. Oh, man. That is an excellent send-up to previous Hobgoblin Spider-Man covers, with literally Hobgoblin breaking through the cover. Pepe Larraz, you have done a wonderful, wonderful job on that one. I'm sure that Mr. Eberly would approve as well. No Hope Against the Hobgoblin in Amazing Spider-Man #5 by Mr. Kelly and Mr. Larraz. In issue 6, John Romita Jr. returns as we get some Black Cat Spider-Man action as Hell's Gate opens with a punch. On to the facsimiles for the month on page 58. Get ourselves a facsimile of Fantastic Four #6. They're reprinting all 12 issues of the original Fantastic Four run issue by issue. And here we are with issue 6 with some Namor and Doom action for you by the one and only Lee and Kirby. And then we get the very, very classic X-Men #136 by Claremont and Byrne. And that is an image that has been copied 849 times over the years. Good reason, because it's one of the best covers of all time.
Yep.
Also, Fantastic Four #49. If This Be Doomsday. It involves Galactus. Gee, I wonder why they're going with that facsimile this month. Page 59 for that.
Same cover we saw homaged on, I guess it was that Titan published Fantastic Four novel.
Indeed.
A couple of catalogs ago.
Yes, indeed. Yep. As 3K are revealed in all their glory, Henry McCoy is faced with a choice as death stalks the halls of the factory, but no X-Man stands alone. The Beast may find surprising support in unlikely allies. In X-Men #18 on page 61. I'm caught up to about issue 9 of X-Men and Uncanny so far, and this is my style of storytelling right here. It's again completely different than what Hickman was doing, but it's just classic old school superhero X-Men stuff happening, and I'm all for both series right now. So good stuff. And as you mentioned, Storm #9, Marrera Iodell with Lucas Warneck getting very high acclaim from a bunch of reviewers this Storm series.
Yep, I am really surprised by how much I've been enjoying it.
Issue 12. Oh, wow. Page 63 here. Phoenix #12. The Secret Origin of Sarah Gray. Huh. Her sister Sarah Gray has returned to life. Murdered by the Phoenix many years ago. Another in a long line of Greys to lose their lives in ultimately violent ways. Sarah nonetheless stands before Jean alive and well. But when, why, and how? This I gotta see. This I gotta see.
Yep, I'm very curious about that myself.
Absolutely. Now, this is an unfortunate case of a series just not taking off, especially the creative team here. Joe Casey and Chris Cross were originally going to get at least 12 issues of this, and this is unfortunately the 5th and final issue of Weapon X-Men. Yeah, they cut the series short. It wasn't selling anywhere in the numbers they wanted to, and this is it for this particular miniseries. So it's a damn shame. Chris Cross artwork is always worth the price of admission. Page 65. Yeah, the X-Men have seen better days here. That's some dark looking X-Men right there.
Mm-hmm. And it's taking us back to the dark days of the late 80s. Talking about things that look like J.R. Jr. covers.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. 100% what they're setting up there. Dave Marquez has been doing a great job on the artwork here for this series in general. And it's Gail Simone. What else is there to say? Page 65 for issue 16 of Uncanny X-Men. There's another one I got to catch up on, Exceptional X-Men, because it's been getting some really good praise as well. Evel Ewing and Carmen Carnero on this series, and it looks like some sinister games are afoot with Emma Frost on page 67. All right. Follow Havoc and Omega Red's journeys through Krakoa into X Factor and Sentinels in X-Men Demons and Death. That's a story we were totally expecting to find, but all right, sure, why not? This just collects the X-Men from the Ashes, issues 7 through 12 for the first time in print. That's one of the, unlimited scrolling stories that's now collected in one particular.
I see. Now showing up in print.
And the new champions get to meet the Avengers in issue 6 of that on page 71. Love that cover here of the Thing. Tony Fleeks and Justin Mason. Targeted by Bullseye. Now, this is the story of the immortal Thor and how he faced his end. Immortal Thor number 24, Al Ewing and Jan Bazaldua. Wondering if this is the final issue of Immortal Thor that will then lead to a relaunch, or what exactly is going on here. But
I suspect, and I've been wrong about this kind of thing before, but if it is the end, it probably won't relaunch. It'll just be Al Ewing having finished the story he wanted to tell and moving on.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's the final issue either.
Well, nonetheless, we get a last stand of sorts, and then page 76 brings us the 350th issue of Deadpool, but it's also issue 15. Deadpool Wolverine number 6. It's Strife. It's White Nick Fury. Okay. All right. Good. Okay. Nick Fury Sr., that is. Mm-hmm. Good way to differentiate it. Good way.
Yep. Works for me.
Page 78, the Wolverine and Kitty Pryde miniseries sequel continues, written by Chris Claremont and Damian Cucchiero, issue 3 of said 5-issue mini. A great Alan Davis cover there to go back it up. And the old school logo for it, I might add. Mm-hmm. Look, the more I see it, the more I don't hate the '90s Daredevil costume. Even if it has its purpose when it's needed.
Sure. Yes. Now you're seeing in it what Saladin Ahmed apparently saw in it. And Kevin Moyer always said he never minded the biomimetic costume, as that was called, because its components mimic components of certain animal and plant matter found in nature.
Mm-hmm. Page 84, we're into the Star Wars realm. Star Wars Dr. Aphra, Chaos Agent number 1, Cherish Chen and Gabriel Guzman on the writing and artwork chores. Out from the shadow of Darth Vader, Dr. Aphra returns in an all-new ongoing series. And she teams up with Luke Skywalker to track down a rare artifact. On page 84, continuing the Star Wars universe. The second issue of the Star Wars relaunch as well. Alex Segura with Phil Noto artwork. Good team in general. Action adventure continues in the post-Return of the Jedi era with this new Star Wars series on page 87. And on we go to the collections. We get a second hardcover of the Danny Ketch years of Ghost Rider by Howard Mackey, Len Kaminsky, and various others. And get some artwork in there from Ron Wagner, Andy Kubert, Brett Blevins, and tons more. As this is a solid 1,312 pages for $150 here on page 91 of the Danny Ketch era of Ghost Rider. Whole lot of riding Ghost. And a premiere collection of Civil War by Mark Millar and Steve McNiven on page 92. Let's all go back in time and remember the days of when podcasts like Comic Timing put out specials on Civil War being delayed and how upset we were about that. Those were the days.
Yeah, I still haven't finished reading that series.
Oh, man. Well, it's still there. Still there whenever you want to. Here's a classic. Page 94. Also talk about something that took forever to actually be completed. This is the Shield series by Jonathan Hickman with pencils by Destin Weaver and various others. This was meant to be a lot more epic than it originally intended to be. Like they tried to give like a secret origin and history to Shield, and they did a good job of it. It just took a very long time to finish coming out. But I like the secret history bent of it all.
So did I.
We're near concluding the omnibuses of the Krakoa era of X-Men. On page 96 here, Jerry Duggan's omnibus. All-star heroes of Krakoa are here to save the planet. And this is collecting a whole bunch of stuff from the various X-Men series by Jerry Duggan and Steve Fox. Rainbow Rowell She-Hulk gets an omnibus on page 98. Collects the whole darn thing. She-Hulk 1 through 15 from 2022, and Sensational She-Hulk 1 through 10 from 2023, all in one package. I may buy this. We shall see.
Pretty sure I already have the issues. Here on page 100, Chris would want us to mention there's a 5th Marvel Masterworks volume of Tomb of Dracula, covering issues 41 through 55, and a mid-70s issue of Doctor Strange featuring a Dracula guest appearance. This is by Marv Wolfman and Gene Colan, of course.
Indeed, yep. And the Hellfire Gala trade paperback by Duggan, Hickman, Ewing, Teenie Howard, and Steve Fox collects a whole bunch of stuff from the Krakoa era on page 101 as well. And scroll down a little bit further here. The Aliens versus Avengers trade paperback by Jonathan Hickman and Isad Ribic on page 104. I will just continue to say the fact that they were able to get Jonathan Hickman and Isad Ribic to do a Aliens versus Avengers trade paperback in any form, good for you, Marvel. That's some pedigree talent right there, and it essentially returned Hickman to the Avengers for the first time in a couple of years. So, yeah, worth checking out if you're a fan of these creators, definitely. Or Aliens, that too. Volume 5 of Scarlet Witch by Steve Orlando, that we've given great praise to here on the show. Page 107 collects the 2024 Scarlet Witch series, issues 6 through 10. And let's go down a little bit more here and look at some of the, West Coast Avengers collected on page 113. First volume of that by Jerry Duggan and Danny Kim. First 5 issues of that new series.
Yeah, it's kind of another Marvel sleeper of late. Just good, solid superhero team story.
And 115... we get an Epic Collection, Volume 2 of the original Marvel years of Rom. Happy to see that in print.
Me too. It's long overdue.
Yep. Rom issues 21 through 33, Annual 1, and Power Man and Iron Fist, number 73, thrown in there as well. This is one of my favorite eras of Thor right here on page 116. The Dan Jurgens era, with a little bit of DeFalco and J.M. DeMatteis thrown in there for good measure, but Dan Jurgens, John Romita Jr., John Buscema, Ramon Bernardo, Dan Jurgens himself, Liam Sharp. This is 1 through 13 of the 1998 Thor volume. including Silver Surfer Thor Annual 1999, and Peter Parker Spider-Man issue 2. Really enjoyed this relaunch of Thor back in the day, and it kind of brought him back to prominence after the whole Heroes Reborn kerfuffle, and shortly thereafter we had JMS's run, so that's why this gets a little bit of kind of forgotten in the shuffle. But I really loved this back in the day. And we'll finish it out with one more volume here. Coming soon to Amazon Prime, Spider-Man Noir Hard-Boiled Origins by David Heim, Fabrice Sapolsky, and Roger Stern. Nicolas Cage himself will be starring as Spider-Man Noir in live action on Amazon Prime in the not-too-distant future. And this is the origin of Spider-Man Noir for you on page 121, if you were wondering more about that hero. And U.S. Avengers by Al Ewing, collected in full. That collects U.S. Avengers 1 through 12 on page 123. It's Al Ewing, and I kind of forgot this existed until I saw it collected here.
So did a lot of people, I think. But it's got a certain edge to it.
Yep. My favorite part about this is the Red Hulk Thunderbolt Ross with full mustache and glasses. Gotta love it.
Yeah. Yes. Mustache like that deserves to survive the transformation into a Hulk.
You better believe it. All right, so we are done with the Marvel catalog. We're going to go through some back of the book stuff here at Diamond, and then we'll have one or two things to mention at Lunar, and then we will call it a day. Ablaze has GG Life is a Video Game by Giacomo Massi. What if a video game overwrote reality? Oh God, that's a frightening idea.
Yes, it really is.
When 5 friends meet up to celebrate the release of their favorite game's new DLC content, they're distressed to discover that the download's wait time is a whopping 10 hours. Determined to wait it out, the girls fall asleep on their desks. When they wake up, the world of Ragnarok has somehow transcended realities, transforming their local shopping mall into one of the game's dungeons. Oh, man. So a little bit of a almost like Delicious in Dungeons meets Reboot meets 4 or 5 other things thrown in for good measure here. GG Life is a Video Game, Volume 1 by Giacomo Massi and Ilaria Gelli on page 148. Down for that. Nice. I love the manga-esque artwork for it as well. And the Retroverse gets a trade paperback by Cullen Bunn and John Bivens on page 152. If you're waiting for the trade on that, you now have it. The Ablaze Eurocomics Collected Set, number 2. So this is a whole bunch of Eurocomics getting a collection here in the States. We get Library Mule of Cordoba. We get Rompopistas, which looks like it's a very mind the buzzcocks type of situation, and the King of Moths thrown in there as well. This is a hardcover collection of these Euro comics that certainly have not been distributed widely here in the States, and now they have their opportunity to do so on page 158. Let's go down a bit more. Onward we go into Distillery.
And here we are, something we should probably mention in passing. Page 168 and Sequitur. White House Robot Romance, number 1. Written by Chip Zdarsky. That scans. And art by Rachel Stott. And it is indeed the story of a forbidden love between 2 service robots working in a future White House in a United States that's embroiled in a border war with Canada, which might be a little bit too topical for comfort right now. But hey, robot romance.
Yep. Brian K. Vaughn has talked about returning to his Canadian War comic.
We stand on guard. I've been
Exactly.
thinking about that series a lot lately.
Yeah, we stand on guard. According to Vaughn, may very well have a volume 2 coming in the not too distant future. So,
Time seems ripe.
You're damn right. Yeah, Zdarsky, bring it, especially White House shenanigans, because I just finished The Residence on Netflix a couple days ago, and that's a very Agatha Christie whodunit about a White House worker being killed in the middle of a gathering of Australian bureaucrats. And Kylie Minogue is both playing herself and invited to the gala. So that's one of the plot points, is that she got to sleep in Lincoln's bedroom in exchange for performing at this event. So, but The Residence is good stuff. Oh man, the covers, the Jill Thompson cover is the best. Oh man. And then some preview pages for it. Yep. Diamond's got a lot of pages to fill, so they can put as many preview pages as they want in right now. Yep.
Indeed.
All right. Scroll it down a bit more. A whole bunch of second issue stuff here. We didn't mention the first issue of Mischief of Magpies, but it's Simon Spurrier and Mateus Bergara, so it's a fantasy epic from the two here, as the wandering city beckons, and Mar has answered its call. Tasked with eliminating the baleful Moray King who haunts the underside of the machine metropolis, Mar takes every opportunity to dive deeper into the depths of this astonishing fantasy world, though it comes at a high cost to his real life in the real world and to those who try to love him.
High strangeness in the scintillating Spurrier style.
You better believe it. For fans of the never-ending story, Arcane, and The Boy and the Heron. Okay. Yeah, you got me. Page 181 for that particular distillery book. And Eduardo Risso's The Blood Brothers' Mother gets a collection for the first time. Brian Azzarello is on the writing shores for said hardcover, and that is available in July. 200-page hardcover for 35 smackers on page 182. All right. Let's head firmly into the rest of the, and that's where Boom lives now in Diamond Previews until they're no longer there as of July. But I got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about here. Be Not Afraid #1 by Jude Ellison S. Doyle and Lissandro Esserin, as Cora Reams lives the isolated life of a simple farm girl until one fateful summer day, prophetic visions brought her a visitor made of pure light, an angel. In the aftermath, Cora gave birth to a child, a Nephilim, the offspring of an angel and a human woman seemingly imbued with life itself. 17 years later, that child's cherubic appearance. Cherubic, thank you. I always mispronounce that word. Cherubic appearance can no longer hide his monstrous nature. Frogs boil in the skies as he passes. Crops rot. The townspeople live in fear, knowing that atrocities follow closely behind him. Now on the eve of his 18th birthday, Cora receives a new vision. Heaven itself has called upon her to destroy the abomination born of her own flesh and blood. Good times. Good times. Good old Feast and Famine right there on page 189. Be Not Afraid. We also get The Last Witch, Blood and Betrayal by Connor McCreary and V.V. Glass on the next page. The one thing Circe has always known, witches are evil, but now she is one, and she has to contend with what that means for herself and her brother Brahm. Witchy goodness right there. On page 190 in The Last Witch, Blood and Betrayal.
Story that dares to portray witches as not good things.
Exactly. That's never happened before. The 90s kid in me is a happy man, I'll tell you.
We are VR.
Yes. Troopers, Supreme, Go, Virtual. I don't know. I don't even know why that song is still stuck in my head the way it is. It was a crappy, horrible show.
But it had a catchy theme song. It's
The catchiest. It's like that and Superhero Samurai Cyber Squad. Man, VR Troopers #1, Marguerite Scott and Sebastian Perez bring us the VR Troopers in the Power Rangers Prime universe. The first VR Troopers series in 30 years. The perfect jumping on point for Troopers fan, old or new. I think they meant to say fan, not fans, by the way.
There's got to be at least one of them somewhere.
I know. Most elite of the Eltarian Empire's human heroes on Earth. But what secrets are the Eltarians keeping? Oh, my God.
It's
Good job.
perfect jumping on point.
Yeah, for those of you who are really waiting for more Eltarian stories, because you really remember those, man, they're mining the well. They're doing a great job of it. VR Troopers #1 on page 191. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. All right, on we go to Dark Horse. Some highlights here, and then they get their actual solicitations underneath. Let's see. A lot of ongoing. Let's go with Masters of the Universe Andra one-shot. This is by Tiffany Smith and Adriana Mello. Tiffany Smith is the actor who voices Andra in the Masters of the Universe Revelation and Masters of the Universe Revolution series, along with Eisner Award-winning artist Adriana Mello. Bring Andra to the forefront in this thrilling one-shot, adapting to her new role as Man-at-Arms. Andra finds herself struggling with training new cadets. They must be ready to fight against any and all threats, magical or otherwise. But if Andra can't believe in herself, how can she expect others to follow her lead? You'll find that out here in Masters of the Universe Andra one-shot. And directly next to that... Wow.
Yeah, there's another property I didn't expect to see adapted to comics at this point in history. It's a Rocky Horror Show comic.
Yep.
#1 from the team of Mags Visaggio and artist Noemi Vettor. And it's set 7 years after the events of the Rocky Horror Show and picture show that we all know, with Brad and Janet. And Janet has slipped deep into decadence. Brad's not doing so well either, but the two of them are dragged back together again by fate, whatever you want to call it. Somebody named Bridget von Frankenstein is involved. And will they all do the time warp again?
Probably.
We'll find out. There's not even a cover image yet, which is a little unfortunate on Dark Horse's part.
I wouldn't be surprised if there is one in the Penguin Random House version of this solicitation. But
I hope there's one somewhere, because a book like this will probably go unnoticed by a lot of people without a big flashy promo image to accompany it.
Let's see. If I look it up right now, Rocky Horror #1 cover, Dark Horse. Let's make the magic happen. And it does have a preview. So I'm going to click on it right now and find out. And still cover coming soon. Come on, dang it. Oh, my God. All right. You know what? I think this might be... Is this it? Okay. Yeah, it's not... I don't think this is actually it. All right. I may very well wind up continuing to look for this because I feel like it has to have something of a treatment one way or the other. All right. It's a okay. This is as close as we're gonna get to a cover. You know what? Screw it. It's not really it. Oh well, that's a shame. So yeah,
that it is.
Well, maybe by next month it'll actually have one. And if not, then so it goes. You know what? Screw it. I don't care if we're running long. I'm going to wind up looking earlier on in the Dark Horse solicitations here. See if I can find it, because they're all here. All right. I'm in Penguin Random House. Let's see. Come on, you gotta have it. Power Rangers. Oh man, I'm already in Boom. What?
No, they're just kind of indiscriminately mixing things from different publishers on the same pages.
Like they. Come on, guys. That's not great.
Yeah, that's not the way to lay out a catalog like this.
All right, screw it. I give up. I give up, and guess what? It's your fault. Penguin Random House / Dark Horse. Get your shit together. All right. Meanwhile, on that same page, Masters of the Universe, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles of Grayskull, Tim Seeley, Freddie Williams II. Check it out. It's Turtles. It's Grayskull. What more do you need?
Yes. Raph, stop resisting.
Yes, exactly. He's probably picking up the trade. Page 194 also has Tex Arcanum by Christopher Monfey and Miguel Martos. America is a melting pot for the supernatural. Ghosts and gods, angels and demons, horror stories and tall tales. They've traveled from across the globe to collide in the rural heartland, and cowboy arcanist Avery Bell has spent a very long lifetime amongst them. Horror noir meets Elmore Leonard in this mystical Midwest. Wow. Okay. It sounds a little bit JMS's Thor run meets Supernatural. So
I like it.
Yeah, I'm down. Also, Umbrella Academy Plan B issue 2. Issue 1 was last month. I mentioned issue 2 because it's a brand new Umbrella Academy series by Gerard Way and Gabriel Ba, the original writer and artist. Gimme, gimme, gimme on page 195. And Cat Plus Gamer gets volume 8 of its collections on page 195. It's cats, it's gamers. Meow, 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 meow. All right. On we go to IDW. Godzilla 70th Anniversary Foil Classics. Godzilla, the Half-Century War by James Sticco.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Which was a pretty good story, as I recall. It's in the vein of Marvels, the Busiek Ross Marvels. It's the story of one man's 50-year continued clash with Godzilla. Largely one-sided, I imagine, but it's kind of Godzilla through this guy's eyes through the decades.
Nice.
And at the bottom of that page, here's a graphic novel collection of Tom Scioli's Godzilla Monster Piece Theater, collecting all 3 issues of that miniseries of Godzilla running afoul of kind of a League of Extraordinary Gentlemen of literary figures.
Mm-hmm. Yep. On that very same page, you also get Star Trek Lower Decks issue 8. In a moment of mother-daughter bonding, Captain Freeman continues the story of how she was once a nobody screw-up, just like Mariner. So we get a nice flashback story of Freeman in her early days by Tim Sheridan, Robbie Cook on page 197. And the Star Trek Omega one-shot by Cantwell and Various. This story is coming to a close, so we're getting the last feel of what's going on with this particular Star Trek run, and then we'll get another story after that. But this is going to basically be a one-shot, I believe, tying things together in the Omega story that's been going on with the Defiant and others. The Ninja Turtles have been framed for a murder they didn't commit in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 11 by Jason Aaron. And on that same page, a collection of the first volume of the Jason Aaron reboot. And on page 199 is the It Rhymes with Takei hardcover. So it is actually in the solicits over at Diamond as well, if you're looking in the Diamond previews.
Mm-hmm.
Abrams Comic Art brings us a Spider-Man panel by panel. Steve Ditko and Stan Lee of Amazing Fantasy number 15. So huge panel by panel exploration of the entire issue, including changes in the borders of the pages and all that cool stuff. So if you're interested in this sort of breakdown, it is available for you. 384 pages of hardcover action on page 200 of the previews catalog for $60. Also get a 4Kids Mighty Marvel team up Iron Man Something Strange. As Iron Man teams up with Doctor Strange, Dean Hale, and Doug Holgate on 201.
Oh, speaking of offbeat team ups.
Happy Easter, baby!
Good point. Page 202 from our friends at Ahoy Comics. From Mark Russell, master comic satirist and creator of Second Coming, which is a buddy comedy team-up between Jesus Christ and a Superman analog. We have Toxie Team-Up #1, teaming up Jesus and the Toxic Avenger. Just going to leave that right there.
Thank you, Ahoy. Thank you very, very much for existing. I really do appreciate it. All right. We do actually get some Valiant stuff here. However, none of it is the relaunch. That is still on hold. So, once again, previously solicited relaunch of Valiant has been put on hold until there's stability in the market. So it may never happen. But who knows? We shall see. We shall see. Further along in the catalog, let's see if they're still here, because they're also somewhere else now. And okay, good. Archie's still in here because Archie did make a deal with the alternative. They're also now listed in multiple catalogs. So good to know that they're still here in Diamond for now. But the Veronica issue 202 facsimile edition is available on page 220, and we also get a Archie's Pal facsimile edition, Archie's Pal Jughead #78, on page 221. I want to see whether or not the Lunar catalog has more Archie stuff, or whether that's all that's actually solicited this month. As I scroll down and find out, I think it just might be a light month in general. Yep, they have literally the exact same solicitations in the Lunar catalog. So good to know that we're not missing anything out by only doing one thing.
Mm-hmm. Indeed, because having to go through Lunar in addition to everything we've already done would make us run very long indeed.
Indeed. Issue 105 of Sheldon Allen's They Choose Violence, because they choose violence. A revenge story like you've never seen before. Lenneka Deidre and Karen, three HBCU besties turned professional career women, enraged by their systemic injustice plaguing their community, band together to form a vigilante squad that targets white supremacists deemed to have circumvented the justice system and gotten away with protected murder. Serving up grisly justice in increasingly creative ways, the vigilante posse becomes front page news while always staying one step ahead of the law. It's liberating, it's addictive, and it's kind of fun until a copycat killer emerges, and then shit hits the fan. They choose violence with an excellent cover B that's straight up B movie. It's, well worth your time on page 226. By the way, that cover B by Kyle Baker.
Oh, man. Didn't even recognize it as his style, but you're right. It does look like a classic B movie poster.
Indeed. Yep. We also get a Purpose Project one-shot by Danny Hogan and Philippe Cunha out of AWA. This is continuing
Protopias, a science fiction anthology series that explores the many possible futures that can come to pass. Mm-hmm. And this future being explored in this one is a world where people don't have to work anymore because AI and robotics are making them obsolete, and it's about the government initiative that's exploring other things for people to do with their lives.
Nice. Sounds like fun. You know what else sounds like fun? The deluxe edition of Marjorie Finnegan by Garth Ennis and Goran Suzuka. This is very much, if it's not already in the hands of Mr. Eberly, will be in the hands of Mr. Eberly, as it's Garth Ennis. And that's 232 pages for $25. Not too shabby. 230. Love the artwork, too. Incredibly expressive. This looks like right up my alley. Going Under, on a Bad Egg Publishing, story by Lauren Zeeside and H.E. Caldwell, written by Kelly Scavron, and art and cover by Nell Robinson. This is navigating the ins and outs of life at 18, fairly normal high school senior, with finals, college applications, and the unknown worlds of adulthood on the horizon. Lauren is grateful for her family, her close friends, and her love of all things spooky. When school starts and everything begins to change, how will Lauren find stability when nothing is as it seems? Her love of something spooky will work very well in this haunted high school on page 232. and then 233 has Fork of Clowns of cows. It's simple artwork. You can call it simple. I wrote a book, by the way. I think I want it to be a welder instead. Page 233. Marvel's The AIM Collection, Artifacts, Memorabilia, and Ephemera from Across the Universe by Rob Perlman at Ben Bella Books. Once-in-a-lifetime exclusive auction of exceptional documents, rare mystic artifacts, powerful weapons, and technological wonders across the Marvel Universe. Lushly illustrated catalog of Pinkerton Auction Houses presents the AIM Collection. Be the chance to own a part of history. So a whole bunch of Marvel artifacts available for you to peruse out of Ben Bella Books. Fascinating. You want Maroon Girls roller skates? They're there for you.
Full-size statue of Khonshu.
I'll take it.
Sold.
Yep.
As there was a point in the comics when Mark Spector actually did put his Khonshu statue on an auction block. So,
oh, well, there you go.
Comics history repeating itself.
We get The Revolution of Cassandra on page 235. Action, romance, and the tradition of the African queen or romancing the stone. A deadlock and Birkenstock equivalent to Laura Croft. A female Don Quixote, living life as it should be. All right, she's a lot of things. But this does look interesting, and Eric D. Howell and Jordan Raskin are the creative team behind it. The Revolution of Cassandra, issue 1, out of Bliss on Tap, page 235. Bliss on Tap is the type of publisher that very much does not want Diamond to go under, because not only have I never heard of them, but I guarantee you that they are low print run, and they're looking to at least, sell something. And that's what the Diamond catalog allows smaller publishers like that to do.
Yeah. Whereas I don't believe Alliance wants to handle low volume clients at all.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, one that's not a low volume client, Fantagraphics, Peanuts Game Day box set. Collecting a whole bunch of sports-themed Peanuts cartoons into one collection for you on page 245, just in time for game day. We get further down in the catalog, we get Ghost Agents, Crimson Apocalypse. This is a graphic novel by Rocco Jerome and Chris Anderson. Wall-to-wall sci-fi action, Ghost Agents is a breakneck-paced anthology featuring the new cutting edge of up-and-coming comic artists. It's nice sci-fi, spy-fi anthology for you. And love mentioning anthologies of any kind, especially when they're unique like this. And of Cosmic Lion Productions on page 250. You also get Superman, the Man of Steel, the Ultimate Visual Guide Revised Edition, just in time for the movie, on page 252. So you get a nice updated edition, good old reference book out of DK with a whole bunch of Superman artwork and bios for the kiddos, page 252. Dren Productions brings Teddy Scares. Yep. Good times. They're teddy bears, but they're evil. 254.
Yeah.
Get out of Dynamic Forces and into a nice martini. Okay. Nancy Wears Hats by Ernie Bushmiller. First volume in a new series collecting Ernie Bushmiller's timeless and beloved Nancy. Nancy's one of the longest running strips that's gone through many creators over the years. and this collects a very specific run of Nancy in one volume here on page 260 from the years 1949 to 1950.
There's that Peanuts box again.
They accidentally printed it twice. Okay, great. That's the type of stuff that, you can do when you have extra pages. No, I'm just saying.
Yeah. Looks like the new edition of the Overstreet Guide is out.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed.
Number 55. You got your pick of Tarzan or Will Eisner's Lady Luck.
Mm-hmm. It's available on page 266. Looking for some pricing, they got it for you. Also, the Overstreet Comic Book Price Guide to Lost Universes, Volume 1, as a reference book on page 271. Whole bunch of universes that no longer exist, like the original Valiant to Tower's Thunder Agents and Charlton's Superheroes, and from Top's Kirbyverse and the MLJ Archie Heroes to Malibu's Ultraverse and others, including the Marvel's New Universe. So they have both volumes 1 and 2 of those guides available on page 271. All right. Animals Outbreak, graphic novel by Invader Comics, Kevin Foster and Ed Condon on the writing and art chores here. A hunter in Olympic National Park dies from what an eyewitness insists was a long-dead elk coming back to life to exact revenge. Next, a bear stalks a camper with human intelligence and determination. Hey, boo-boo. Animals are killing people, and it's up to Sheriff Jack Bertrand to figure out why. That's my type of horror book right there. A bear with human intelligence. Like, come on. You know what they're going for.
And maybe it even knows how to use cocaine.
Oh, man. No wonder it wants picnic baskets so much. It's Jonesin. Dreadmutt has a very, very, very obvious send-up cover there for its alternate cover. From the minds behind Died Hard and the Mangolorian comes Dreadmutt. In the neo-dystopian year of 2214, the world is stricken by a political feud between Homo sapiens and animal-human hybrids. To get him to stop funding projects, Michael Roderick's daughter has been kidnapped, and now he's being blackmailed to stop trying to make the world better. Who do you call in these moments? Dreadmutt. 40% man, 40% canine, 30% attitude. Yeah, he's 110%, baby.
Right. Dogs are bad at math.
Yes. With an in-your-face 80s action movie feel, this over-the-top comic will satisfy the need for gunfire, explosions, and humor that you've come to expect. Yeah, that's about right. Well, check out Dreadmutt on page 282. And then, of course, Cthulhu is hard to spell from Laguna Studios.
Well, they're not wrong about that.
That is true. That's on page 283. It's an anthology. It's about Cthulhu and others, steeped in the mythology and gods of Lovecraft. So, good stuff right there. This might be something worth mentioning for the Eberleys. Rome Eternal, Volume 1. In a world where the Roman Empire never fell, it now stands on the brink of collapse. For over 2,000 years, Roman society has thrived, evolving in a technological and military powerhouse. Yet its immense power has bred corruption, making it vulnerable to a group of unique and fanatical individuals known as the Mithra Mysteries. To some, they're terrorists. To others, they're heroes, as their enigmatic leader reveals his bold plan to assassinate the emperor. No one within Rome is safe. This is from Homero Rios and Diego Yapur. Page 285, Rome Eternal, Volume 1, out of Magma Comics. Roam wherever you want.
Roam around the world.
Indeed. Right. Onward we go to Oni. Blood type number 1. I wonder if this is a vampire comic.
Yes, there's a few clues present.
It's an EC comic, so yes, it is. From Hugo Award nominated writer Corinna Bechko of Cruel Universe and Green Lantern Earth 1, and Eisner Award winning artist Andrea Sorrentino. The fangs are coming out as EC's own blood spattered, bone vivant vampire rises from her first appearance in EC Comics' best selling blockbuster anthology and into the history making first ever standalone horror series from the most notorious name in terror. Excellent. So, Blood Type, issue 1 on page 292. It's gonna suck.
Yes.
Oh, God, they made a compromise from Mars ongoing. Come on.
Ongoing now. Oh, yep, there it is. In so many words.
All right, fine. Page 294. Thanks, Nacellaverse. There's fans out there, clearly, if it deserves an ongoing series, so good for you.
And I still can't sell anybody on Visionaries Knights of the Magical Light.
I know, right?
No justice.
None. Zero. This is more up my alley. Page 296 with a Nick Offerman looking lead on the cover there. Benjamin number 1 of 3 out of Ben H. Winters and Leo Max on the writing and art chores. In one LA motel room, a cosmic quest is about to begin. Edgar Award nominee and Philip K. Dick Award winner Ben H. Winters and rising star Leo Max unravel a 3-part prestige format series exploring the hallucinatory second life of a brilliant author who imagined our desperate future, but never imagined he'd become part of it.
Okay, so he's pulling a Vonnegut here is what's happening.
Yes, he is.
Benjamin J. Karp is kind of like Vonnegut's alter ego, Kilgore's Trout.
Yep, that's exactly the case. Yep, sounds fascinating, honestly. And this is going to be a 3-issue prestige format, so nice big book with no ads, 32 pages for $6. So this will be nice when it's all collected in one thing. In 1982, science fiction's greatest mind died too young. In 2025, he's returned to solve his greatest mystery, himself. Blah, blah, blah. Benjamin on page 296. The Sixth Gun. Wow. Okay. We're back. Cullen Bunn brings the Sixth Gun back with the Sixth Gun Road to the Six number 0, a one-shot. And then from there, we'll get back to an ongoing, I believe, with the Sixth Gun. So classic weird Western can't be stopped and returns for more here on page 298. Good for Bunn. Good for Oni, for that matter.
And good for all of us.
The Summoning, Volume 1, The Art of the Craft. It's got a humanoid cat and a humanoid cat girl. What more do you need? 303. Down we go to epitaphs. I can't pronounce anything tonight.
It's getting late. All right.
Epitaphs for the Abyss, Volume 1, Jason Aaron, a whole bunch of others. It's a nice anthology, and softcover edition collects the 4-issue anthology on page 307. And then for something completely different, it's a Bluey book. So good for you, Bluey fans. You get yourself some comics. 2 different ones, actually, both on page 308 out of Penguin Young Readers. Let's see if there's anything else in here, because if there isn't, I'm going to have to go somewhere else to talk about what we usually get to before manga, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. So here I am in the Lunar book, and I am going to scroll my butt all the way down, past a bunch of stuff we've already talked about, and get to TwoMorrows, which is now Lunar exclusive. So
Yep, I seem to recall that there is an issue of Alter Ego coming out, and a second volume of books exploring comics adaptations of movies.
Excellent. They sure do have an assload of solicitations in this thing. So I need to get past all of those in order to get to where I'm going. All right, I'm in the S's, almost there. Titan, which we already did. After Titan should be TwoMorrow, because that's how the alphabet works. So let's see. A little bit more, a little bit more. Yes, we did.
There is a lot of Titan.
Yes, there be. All right. Yes, Titan, we know you like Conan. All right, here we go. We already talked about that. Come on. All right, and dear Lord, there's even more than I remember. Oh yeah, because they included the manga section for it too. Damn it!
Yeah, there's definitely some stuff in there that wasn't in the Diamond book.
Yeah. All right. Well, whatever. Okay.
Hagar the Horrible's 50th anniversary volume, for example.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. But yeah, here we are. Okay. Onward, we made it to TwoMorrows. Now exclusive with Lunar as of this month. And we do have a bunch of different stuff here. As I move this over so I can read it a little bit better. For one thing, American movie comic books, 1930 through 1970, from the silver screen to printed page by Peter Bosch, is solicited here. This is technically, I believe, page 384 of the Lunar catalog. But then here we are to back issue, and it's the Mutant Mayhem issue, starring Barry Windsor Smith's Weapon X Wolverine, plus crazy romance of Havoc and Polaris, Rogue and Nightcrawler, villain histories of the Brood and Arcade, and more, featuring John Bogdanove, John Byrne, Chris Claremont, Dave Cockrum, Louise Simonson, Mike Waringo, and more. So well worth checking out, as is the Alter Ego on the bottom there with Neil Adams Revisited. So good TwoMorrow's content for you, along with the usual stuff that you would find, such as the Kirby Collector and Retro Fan. So that is all now Lunar exclusive. So if you're going to be getting your TwoMorrow's fix, that is where you can find it moving forward. Had to make sure to mention that for their sakes, because I'm sure there's a bunch of people who didn't realize that. And they are still one of our favorite reference book creators, definitely. All right, I'm going to go to the manga. And in manga, let's go with Girl Crush. Dreams clash, hearts ignite. Welcome to K-pop idol world, baby. Girl Crush Volume 1 by Midori Taigama. Rivals to Friends takes on a new K-pop twist in this energetically enthusiastic manga where following your dreams helps you find your true self. K-pop action in Japanese form on page 337. All right, we'll find at least one or two more here. Tawawa on Monday. God, I love Japanese titles. Volume 1. A young salaryman is struggling with his life of long hours and little pay. Every day is a slog, but every Monday morning he runs into Al. Al's a cheerful high school student who used to suffer from low self-esteem. Now the two have things to look forward to each week, even if those moments only seem to last for a few stops. Tawawa on Monday, Volume 1, available for you on page 340. I'll try to get one more, and then I will call it. Codenames Sailor V, the Naoki Tekeuchi Collection, Volume 1. A year before meeting Sailor Moon and her destiny as a member of the Sailor Guardians, Minako was the first hero to find her calling. At age 13, all this teen can talk about is finding a boyfriend, but her dreams change when a talking cat with a crescent moon on his forehead reveals her true identity as a soldier of justice, Sailor V. Miracles have returned to modern Tokyo, and she must use her powers to stop the dark agency, which is trying to manipulate Japan's entertainment industry and enslave the population. Join Monaco's adventures before her debut as Sailor Venus and a new affordable edition. And Volume 1 and Volume 2 are both solicited on here on page 343 for some very early Sailor action.
Okay.
Aoki Takeuchi.
This is a Sailor Moon prequel. I seem to remember from my long ago days of actually watching the first Sailor Moon anime on syndicated TV back in the days that the fact that Sailor Venus had been around before Sailor Moon first got her powers, that's been part of the continuity from the start. So now they're actually exploring that a little bit more.
Indeed. Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, very cool. And one more, 349. This is it. I had to end on a very, very, very Japanese name. My Death Flag Show No Sign of Ending, Volume 1.
That is gloriously poorly translated.
Oh my God, it's so good. Normal college student Kazuki Hirasawa finds himself inside the body of Harold Stokes, an evil character in the world of Kazuki's favorite game, Bravehearts. The problem is, if the game events go as they should, he'll one day find himself defeated by the hero's party. Will he be able to find a path to survival and avoid his many death flags using the incredible power of Harold Stokes' body and his own knowledge of the game? Join Harold in his magnificent manga adaptation of the work that won the third Shosentuka Ninaro contest. That awesome concept, and gotta love the name. So, My Death Flag Show No Sign of Ending, Volume 1 on page 249. All right, that's it. You got any swag?
Not this month, Ian.
All right, cool.
Yeah, there's a couple of Muppet action figures. There's a Jeff the Shark Dog vinyl figure of some kind, but yeah.
Well, I will show off my swag for the video audience, as I want everybody to see the wonder of this shirt that I picked up from Nordstrom a couple days ago that just got delivered. If you watching the video can tell me where this art originates, I would be greatly appreciated, because I want to know whether or not this is created from multiple images, whether this is a cover. Like, just tell me. But either way, I got a new awesome X-Men shirt, and I was happy to show it off on today's episode. You will win a no prize, as in I have no prize to give you. Well, Murd, we made it.
Yes, we did. Weary but happy. Bloodied but unbowed. We made it through the catalog.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. Yep, and you're welcome, listeners that missed this last month, because we gave you an extra long one. So much appreciated on you guys for sticking with us and for enjoying this each and every month and being happy that we do it, because we're happy to do it as well, because we have a hell of a lot of fun doing it.
Amen to that.
Mm-hmm. And once again, you can find the video version. I'll say this outside of the music, so you can 100% hear me say it. You can find the video version for this at our YouTube channel. Find it at youtube.com at Comic Timing Podcast. Subscribe if you haven't. I'm on a mission to get us to at least 500 subscribers by the end of this year. And right now we have about 132. So we got a long way to go. I would like to make it happen. Spread the word. Go, let people know about it if you haven't already. Let's try to make this magic happen and get us there. And if we can, great. If not, I'll still do the show. I promise. So, thank you guys so much for sticking with us. And the video version of this particular episode is one of our most watched every single month, because I know you guys love paging through it just like we do. So, thank you very much for that. Mm-hmm. All right, the email just for Comic Timing is comictiming@gmail.com. You can find us over at facebook.com/Comic Timing. And you can also find the Comic Timing fan group there as well. You can find us on Instagram. We are Comic Timing Podcast. We're also on Threads as Comic Timing Podcast. And we're on Blue Sky as Comic Timing. So that's where we have our main... Our main social media presence is definitely on Blue Sky, so do check us out there and the Comic Timing fan group. Those are the main locations that we are to be found. Once again, the YouTube channel is at Comic Timing Podcast, and please do subscribe if you have not already done so. Murd, once again, a pleasure as always, my friend. And until next time, there's always time for comics. My precious Japanese mis translations. Yes, give me more.